Boom. For the third time, a world-spanning dimensional passage materialized at the edge of the minor world, linking the two realms together. On the other side, the 300,000 troops of Blackstone City had long been poised for battle. The moment the passage opened, morale surged, every warrior ready to lay down their lives for their deity. Warriors of Blackstone City, the hour to draw your blades has come. The land connected by this passage is soaked in sin. Every inch of its soil must be purged by flame. Our God has issued the divine edict. Slay all heretics who worship false gods and seize every usable resource. Fight for our God. Amid Yuzo's rallying cry, 50,000 Griffin Knights charged into the dimensional passage first, followed closely by the 300,000 troops advancing in orderly formation. Through the eyes of his followers, Lu Sheng learned of the alien deity he would face in this assessment. Goblins, a race dubbed the Three Lows: low intelligence, low combat power, and low growth potential. Yet they were infamous for their terrifying reproductive capacity. A healthy adult female goblin could birth a litter of offspring every single month. The young matured fully within half a year, and upon reaching adulthood, female goblins could reproduce once more. With such exponential population growth, even a mere few hundred initial goblins at the founding of a minor world could swell into a million-strong army within decades if left undisturbed. Even so, the goblins would amount to nothing more than a disorganized rabble without a greater threat. No matter how weak a race may be, guidance from a deity changes everything. Empowered by innate talents and advanced structures, goblins could evolve into intelligent beings and mutate to gain vastly enhanced growth potential. Take Nangong Wenxue from Elite Class 1 as an example. Her starting race was Goblin, yet she possessed the S-tier talent Feast of Flesh. Every time flesh was consumed, her goblins stood a chance to mutate. Goblin giants, goblin slayers, goblin shamans, goblin archers, and countless other variants. Coupled with their horrifying breeding rate, 3 months had passed, and their strength must have grown to unimaginable heights. Within the alien world, the 50,000 Griffin Knights of Blackstone City arrived first. Stretching before them lay a dense forest, teeming with vegetation that towered 4 to 5 meters high, split into 5 units of 10,000 each. Scout enemy territory ahead of the ground army. First, determine the heretic's strength. If you spot traps or large enemy formations, retreat immediately and send word. Do not engage recklessly. The lead commander's eyes sharpened as he issued the order. The disciplined 50,000 Griffin Knights quickly rearranged their formations and headed out in 5 separate directions. For any large-scale war, intelligence was the utmost priority. During the competition, the alien divine realms each examinee invaded held roughly equivalent overall power, yet there were vast differences in racial abilities, talents, defensive structures, and more. This was designed to test the students' adaptability. On a true battlefield, no one could pick and choose their foes. Meanwhile, hundreds of millions of Senior 3 students across Linhai City were taking the examination. Enormous light screens stood before every examination venue, broadcasting live footage of each participant. The Long family truly lives up to its standing as the foremost of the 4 great clans. They spare no expense on their prodigy. If I see correctly, that boy Long Outyin from Linhai 79th Middle School has equipped every soldier in his army with grade C gear. This goes far beyond wealthy. This is simply extravagant beyond belief. It has only been 3 months, yet he already boasts over 1,000 Tier 3 creatures. The winner of this municipal competition is all but decided. On the viewing platform, representatives from numerous powerful factions were already offering congratulations to the Long family's envoy, who could not help but hold his head high. From their perspective, Long Outyin commanded an army of 30,000. Even his weakest soldiers stood at Tier 2, and 1,000 of his elite troops had all reached the Golden Core cultivation realm. The moment they entered the alien divine realm, sweeping divine sense surged outward. His army advanced forward with unstoppable momentum. Beastmen dwelling on the fringes of the alien world roared and charged, only to be crushed into pulp in an instant, denied even the chance to scream. Is your Nangong clan any less formidable? This Nangong Wenxue commands goblin followers. Yet she has amassed an army numbering in the tens of millions in just 3 months. She must have deployed numerous advanced structures. The Long family envoy jested with a smile. Haha, we are all cut from the same cloth. The Nangong clan envoy smiled faintly. Who is this Zhao Mingjian? He is not from any of the 4 great clans, yet he has spawned countless mutated fishfolk followers. Quite intriguing. This Li Yang is promising too. He has mastered the Grade B formation, 1,000 Mountain Link Barrier formation, to full proficiency. The Nangong clan has found themselves a gem. There are many promising talents even among ordinary classes. It seems Starsea Technology Corporation will recruit plenty of core personnel this time. The representatives of the major factions chatted casually, evaluating outstanding competitors. Some jotted down notes, planning to reach out to the talents they favored and extend partnership offers once the competition concluded. Several elite class students drew their attention as well. Even as descendants of deities, vast gaps separated them based on family background. The child of a first-rank true god could never hope to match the resources available to clans that house dozens, even hundreds of true gods. With proper investment, even elite class students from ordinary households might choose to sign divine contracts. Suddenly, a faction representative scanning countless light screens let out a surprised sound, voicing genuine admiration. Lu Sheng from Linhai No. 1 High School, ordinary class? A student from the ordinary track commanding Tier 3 creatures, utterly astonishing. 300,000 human troops. Has he brought every follower from his minor world to battle? And 50,000 aerial troops. This youth's ability to cultivate his followers is extraordinary. He has tamed so many night griffins. Could his civilization have advanced to a new tier? It was highly unusual for an ordinary class participant to field Tier 3 combatants alongside 300,000 soldiers who had all unlocked cultivation. He instantly captured the attention of every envoy on the platform. I remember now. 2 months ago, I extended an invitation to this youth on behalf of the Nangong clan. He turned us down. The one group also received a rejection. It comes back to me as well. He is the commoner who broke into the top 10 of Linhai No. 1 High School's grade rankings. The Lin clan once offered him a grade B contract. In hindsight, our offer was far too low. Many representatives recalled Lu Sheng. He had already begun to stand out 2 months prior. Now, 2 months later, his influence had grown even greater. Most critically, after cross-referencing information, the factions realized Lu Sheng had rejected every invitation he received from major powers following the monthly examination. In other words, Lu Sheng currently belonged to no faction at all. The atmosphere on the platform shifted subtly. Light flickered in the eyes of every representative, as they began plotting how to strike a partnership with Lu Sheng first once the competition drew to an end. Within the alien minor world. Report. Swamp traps fill the forest ahead of the dimensional passage. We have mapped and marked all locations. Ground forces must steer clear of these zones. Report. 100,000 heretics spotted 30 kilometers west of the passage. Their forms resemble young human children, with dark green skin, short, ugly frames. They match the domesticated goblins raised within Blackstone City's livestock zones. Estimated numbers exceed 100,000. Report. A small fortress 50 kilometers north past the forest has been detected. Scans confirm it serves as a heretic stronghold, likely armed with heavy siege weaponry. Report. Leveraging the Night Griffin's powerful flight capabilities, the scouting force surveyed nearly the entire alien divine realm in only 2 days. The minor world is circular, spanning roughly 500,000 square kilometers with a radius of around 400 kilometers. Lu Sheng observed the alien realm through his followers' eyes. A clear picture of the alien world emerged. Directly in front of the dimensional passage stretched a vast forest riddled with crude traps, toxic spirit plants, and several grade C structures known as swamplands. Low-tier goblins roamed the wilderness constantly. Past the Great Forest, 50 kilometers north stood a small fortress packed with goblins of varying cultivation levels, equipped with catapults, heavy crossbows, and numerous defensive siege weapons. This was not, however, the core of the goblin divine realm. Further scouting revealed 3 such fortresses surrounding a far larger, more developed central city. The fortresses guarded the east, west, and south directions, while a towering mountain range blocked the northern border, impassable even for night griffins. Lu Sheng designated them the Central City, East Fortress, West Fortress, and South Fortress for simplicity. The total goblin population across this world must number in the tens of millions. Rough estimates place low-tier Tier 1 creatures above 1 million, Tier 2 creatures at 100,000, and more than 100 Tier 3 beings. Lu Sheng was genuinely stunned after compiling the data. While each participant faced an alien divine realm of comparable overall strength, such a massive host could overwhelm 99% of all Senior 3 competitors across Linhai City. Yet Lu Sheng felt no fear. Battle fervor burned brightly within him. If he could secure admission to an elite university through this municipal competition, sacrificing all 350,000 troops would still be a worthwhile trade. Lu Sheng preferred steady, gradual development. But that did not mean he would remain perpetually low profile, turning a blind eye to tremendous opportunities. That was never his way. On the contrary, revealing his strength appropriately would grant him abundant resources to accelerate his growth and gain the power needed to protect himself sooner. This world was far from safe. Beyond the great Xia human realm stood numerous other human kingdoms, while countless alien races lurked outside the human territories, watching hungrily. Every day, minor worlds were invaded, divine realms fell, and deities perished without a trace. Launch the full offensive. Eliminate the heretics at all costs, seize their resources, and raise their cities. A determined glint crossed Lu Sheng's face as he issued his divine edict. He possessed extensive experience planning minor world development and could oversee that work personally. But in full-scale divine realm warfare, his role lay in overall coordination. The specifics of battle execution fell to his followers. "We obey the divine edict." Yuzo replied solemnly, then immediately relayed orders. His voice, amplified by spiritual energy, boomed like a great bell in every warrior's ears. "All Foundation establishment cultivators, step forward. You will form the vanguard. Following the maps drawn by the Griffin Knights, clear all marked forest traps and carve a safe path for the main army. 300,000 troops, heed my command. Split into 3 formations. The first formation of 100,000 men will circle 300 li west through the forest to assault the Goblin West Fortress. I will assign 10,000 Griffin Knights to clear threats along your route. The remaining 2 formations will split into a force of 190,000 and another of 10,000. The 190,000 will follow me through the forest and march straight for the central Goblin City. The 10,000-man detachment will advance toward key resource nodes marked on the map. I will dispatch 10,000 Griffin Knights to support them. Their objective is not to seek battle, but to destroy supplies and draw enemy forces away from the main front. Do you understand your orders? We understand. The roar of 300,000 soldiers shook the air. These warriors had been handpicked from Blackstone City. Yuzo had led them on multiple campaigns into the Poison Mist world before, earning their complete trust and admiration. They followed his command without hesitation. Full advance. Engage and slay any goblin heretics you encounter without awaiting further orders. Yuzo swung his arm wide, surging spiritual energy rippling outward. Boom, boom, boom. Roars echoed through the air. Countless night griffins let out piercing cries, surging forward first like churning black clouds, carrying overwhelming oppressive pressure. Meanwhile, Blackstone City's mere 50-odd Foundation establishment cultivators charged into the forest. Their divine senses swept continuously across the surroundings, dismantling traps and clearing a wide path for the main army. Scattered low-tier goblins wandered the forest, most scrawny and armed with nothing but wooden clubs, left to fend for themselves. They soon crossed paths with the vanguard cultivators clearing traps. Kek, kek. At the sight of living prey, the starving goblins' eyes blazed red, and they charged forward mindlessly. Filthy heretics. Disgust twisted the features of a female Foundation establishment cultivator. She let out a cold snort and unleashed several grade E flying swords that streaked over 100 meters in an instant. Swoosh. The air split apart. One grade E flying sword locked onto its target unerringly, piercing straight through a goblin's skull. The remaining blades glowed with spiritual radiance and struck from the flanks. Before the rest of the goblin squad could react, all were cut in half, blood and viscera spraying through the air. Still enraged by the sight of the goblins, the female cultivator refused to stop there. She wove hand seals and conjured a ball of fire, burning all the scattered remains to ash. Enough. Conserve your spiritual power. We still have traps to clear. A nearby mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator frowned and reminded her. I understand. Those heretics' gazes are deeply revolting. The female cultivator said resentfully. Within the goblin's stares, she had seen nothing but ravenous hunger for flesh. Humph. All these heretics will be slain eventually. Do not delay the deity's grand mission. The vanguard squad pressed onward. Their Foundation establishment divine senses covered hundreds of meters in every direction. Any approaching goblins were detected instantly and eliminated preemptively. Even swarms of hundreds of low-tier goblins could not slow them down in the slightest. Within 3 days, a wide cleared path ran through the forest, all traps along the route destroyed. Yuzo received the spiritual transmission at once. His expression sharpened. His gaze cut through the shadowy forest as clearly as daylight. The time has come. Advance in full force. Blessed by the night vision inscription, Blackstone City's martial artists faced no hindrance traveling even after dark, advancing rapidly along the cleared path. Hundreds of meters overhead, Griffin Knights sat mounted, bows drawn, patrolling like apex predators. Any goblin that drew near the army would be shot dead without delay. These Griffin Knights represented the most talented archers selected from the clans. Empowered by the Deadshot inscription, they could reliably hit moving targets hundreds of meters away. Even if any goblins miraculously survived the arrow storm and closed in on the main army, they would be paralyzed by the killing aura of the Black Tortoise formation before being cut down by frontline warriors. Therefore, despite constant skirmishes with wandering goblins, the army marched on without pause. After more than 10 days of steady advance, they reached the outer regions of the alien world without stopping to rest. Casualties thus far, 0. Split into 3 shifts for rotating guard duty. Rest for 1 full day before resuming the march. Watching the final soldier emerge from the forest, Yuzo shouted his order. The entire army immediately set up camp to recuperate. Most soldiers of Blackstone City trained as martial artists and could endure long stretches without sleep, yet fatigue would inevitably dull their combat prowess. Teacher Yuzo, when will I get to join the fight? I just broke through to Golden Core, and Mulan is eager to test her newly crafted Tier 3 talismans. A breathtakingly beautiful woman suddenly darted over and leaped onto Yuzo's back, wrapping her arms playfully around his neck. The nearby sentries tactfully diverted their gazes. You've become a Golden Core ancestor, yet you still retain such a mischievous streak. Faced with a woman whose strength far outstripped his own, Yuzo could only sigh helplessly. A year prior, he had shared wine at Lin Mulan's victory banquet. After that day, the two grew close and eventually formed a Dao companion bond. Lin Mulan had since become the city lord's spouse. Nah. Lin Mulan stuck out her tongue playfully. The time is not yet right for you to enter battle. The Griffin Knight commander sent word that within those 4 goblin fortresses dwell numerous fearsome goblin shamans and giant goblins standing over 10 meters tall. They are likely rivals matching your cultivation tier. His tone turned grave as he issued a serious warning. Mulan, you are our sole Tier 3 combatant. If you find yourself outmatched, prioritize survival above all else. Do not let battle fervor cloud your judgment. I know. Compared to their smooth progress, the 100,000 troops taking the western detour ran into trouble. Under Lu Shang's watchful gaze, the formation led by Chen Guang, a late-stage Tier 2 martial master, successfully circled toward the western forest exit, only to collide head-on with the goblin army. Unlike the feral, undisciplined goblins roaming the forests, this army had received formal training ordained by a deity. 100,000 goblin shield-bearers formed the vanguard, followed by goblin warriors wielding iron clubs, with goblin archers stationed at the rear. They had assembled into a perfectly standard 3-tier battle formation. Over 500,000 goblins in total, yet only a few thousand first-tier goblins. Not a single second-tier goblin among them. They are far too weak. Could this be a probing strike? Lu Shang pondered to himself. As the invading side initiating the divine war, operating within a realm ruled by an alien deity, he was inherently at an intelligence disadvantage. He could only observe the battlefield through the eyes of his subjects. The alien deity, however, held a stark advantage. With a single thought, it could oversee every corner of its world. The troop numbers, tactical arrangements, and marching routes of every human army would all lie exposed to its sight. Sending such a mediocre army now might be an attempt to gauge his strength. Afterwards, the alien god could deploy its main divine army to eliminate his forces one by one. I cannot afford to split my troops. If the goblin deity sends hundreds of third-tier creatures alongside millions of goblins, Chen Guang's 100,000 soldiers will not stand a chance. No, that plan carries risks as well. If our army advances along a single route, the eastern and western goblin cities could flank our forces the moment we lay siege, cutting off all avenues of retreat. Chen Guang's army routed the 500,000 goblins in a single assault, the battle tipping overwhelmingly in humanity's favor. Yet no trace of joy appeared on Lu Shang's face. He sank deep into hesitation. This was his first divine war. All his prior knowledge existed only in theory, and those lessons felt inadequate amid real combat. After lengthy deliberation, an idea struck him. Instead of struggling alone, he would relay all intelligence to Yuzo and let the seasoned strategist devise a solution. That was exactly what he would do. Lu Shang immediately issued a divine oracle. Yuzo, we are inside the alien divine realm. Every move you make will be watched by the alien deity. Upon receiving the message, Yuzo's brows knitted tightly. He quickly grabbed the battlefield map spread out before him and traced lines across its surface. After a long while, he set down his writing tool and issued orders. Send word to Qinguang. Consolidate all troops. Dispatch 2 divisions of 10,000 Griffin riders each. Have them advance 50 kilometers to the east and west flanks of our main army. If they spot any goblin forces, launch harassing arrow strikes to slow their advance, and send urgent reports back to the main host at once. When facing an alien army of equal or superior nominal strength, Yuzo chose to concentrate his forces, denying the goblin deity the opportunity to destroy his troops piecemeal. At the same time, he leveraged the Griffin riders' aerial mobility to deploy scouts surrounding the army. Should goblin forces attempt a flanking maneuver, they would be alerted instantly. They might even seize the chance to turn the tables and encircle the weaker enemy detachments. Omniscience over the battlefield was a great advantage for the foreign god, yet it bore a flaw. Orders had to filter through layers of goblin commanders, and communication was painfully slow, especially for a race of limited intellect. Naturally, this tactic only worked for divine wars waged by false gods such as themselves, where subjects possessed mediocre combat power and primitive communication methods. Such strategies would prove useless in conflicts between demigods or true deities. 10 days later, all scattered troops regrouped. For battle arrays activated simultaneously. Fueled by the hundreds of thousands of goblins they had slain over these days, a dense aura of bloodshed surged toward the heavens. 20,000 Griffin riders took flight, circling 50 kilometers left and right of the 300,000 ground soldiers, ever vigilant for enemy movements. The great army marched straight toward the goblin cities. Watching this unfold, representatives of the major powers gathered outside the simulation arena nodded approvingly. Lu Sheng possesses remarkable talent. He mastered theoretical knowledge at school, and his ability to adapt on the battlefield is astounding. He formulated such a sound offensive strategy in remarkably little time. Indeed, from the moment he entered the alien realm, he deployed aerial troops to survey and map the territory, sending elite warriors ahead to clear paths. Such meticulous tactical planning is hard to believe coming from a high school senior. His comprehension is extraordinary. Even with merely a C-grade talent, he stands a strong chance of ascending to become a true god someday. At this early stage of awakening small realms, most students were still busy enlightening their subjects, incapable of drafting such intricate battle plans or making decisive adjustments amid combat. Naturally, everyone credited every successful maneuver of the Blackstone City Army to Lu Sheng's personal command. "I will recruit this youth no matter the cost," the representative of the Long clan declared firmly. Thanks to the 3 million E-grade grain-abstaining pills Lu Sheng purchased beforehand, the 300,000 soldiers fighting in this divine war carried minimal supply baggage, enabling the army to travel light. Supported by scouting parties of Griffin riders, alongside the E-grade trait reduced stamina consumption and C-grade trait swift strides, the massive army advanced at tremendous speed. Half a month later, they reached the gates of southern Goblin City. Along the way, Blackstone City's forces encountered dozens of goblin raiding parties numbering over 10,000 each. Yet none drew within 50 kilometers before being shattered by arrows from the Griffin riders. These were disposable goblin units sent by the goblin deity to delay their advance. The goblins lacked traits such as unwavering combat spirit or battle soul endowments. Once casualties exceeded 1/3 of their formation, discipline collapsed instantly. More often than not, the goblins fled in disarray without any need for ground troops to engage. After dozens of skirmishes, Lu Sheng's army maintained an outstanding record, 0 fatalities. "Halt!" Yuzo waved his hand. A massive mana rune materialized in the air, and the 300,000 soldiers behind him froze in unison. "Lord Yu, southern Goblin City lies 30 kilometers ahead. Reports from Griffin scouts estimate nearly 10 million goblins garrisoned within," a captain reported. "Tell all soldiers to hold their positions. First, send the Griffin riders above the city to eliminate their archers and siege equipment." After brief consideration, Yuzo delivered his command. Engaging an enemy dozens of times larger head-on would be foolish. It was far wiser to weaken their defenses from the air before launching a full assault. Understood. Half an hour later, 30,000 Griffin riders took to the skies, blotting out sunlight. They climbed a high altitude and descended over the city. Hoo. Sensing impending danger, the goblins within the city roared wildly and brandished their weapons. But the city walls stood merely 10 meters tall. They could never reach the Griffin riders hovering 100 meters above the ground. Some goblin archers drew their bows, Yet most were ordinary, unmutated goblins, capped at the first tier. They lacked the strength to launch arrows to such heights. Even arrows that barely reached the altitude lost all momentum mid-flight, and many plummeted back down to strike their own kin. The Griffin Riders faced no such limitations. Loose arrows. Fire until our stockpiles run dry. Attack freely. A martial master mounted upon a second-tier shadow griffin shouted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the command, countless shadow griffins circling overhead let out sharp cries. Streaks of silver-tipped arrows poured down like a torrential storm from 100 meters above. Each projectile found its mark, piercing goblins through the heart, skull, and other vital points. A single wave of arrow fire cut down 1/3 of the goblin warriors lined along the walls. Green blood seeped through arrow shafts, quickly staining the stonework. Lu Sheng beamed with delight at the sight. Just as I suspected, aerial units possess overwhelming dimensional superiority against ground foes. In a duel between two archers of equal skill, the combatant holding the high ground always claimed the advantage. As the old saying went, strike from above, and your opponent cannot effectively retaliate. What's more, the Griffin Riders of Blackstone City far outmatched ordinary archers, empowered by the B-grade trait perfect marksmanship. Alongside the C-grade traits steel physique and vitality enhancement, the farsight trait allowed them to lock onto every enemy with pinpoint precision. Herk, thousands of their kin slain in moments. The goblins on the walls descended into panic. They desperately loosed arrows and hurled stones skyward, yet all efforts proved futile. The Griffin Riders strung new arrows and fired again, reloading and repeating the assault without pause. Wave after wave of arrows descended. Every shot claimed another goblin life. Within the span of a single cup of tea, only a handful of stragglers remained upon the walls. The ground within the city was littered with mangled corpses and severed limbs. Goblin forces inside the city attempted resistance, but siege ballistae and catapults were targeted the moment they emerged. Their crews reduced to sieves by volleys of fine, iron arrows. Any goblins fortunate enough to survive the arrow storm cowered within stone huts, trembling as they peeked through cracks toward the sky. Even the second-tier goblin chieftains felt human dread welling up inside them. To expose oneself above the rooftops meant instant death. How could they fight under such conditions? All troops advance. Storm the city. Seeing the wall defenders wiped out and the city garrison suppressed by aerial strikes, Yuzo ordered the 300,000 soldiers forward. With no wall defenders or siege engines to block their path, the army surged unopposed into the city. They quickly seized elevated terrain and began clearing out the remaining goblins. Boom! A wooden door was kicked flying. Before the goblins inside could react, several blazing fireballs slammed into their midst and detonated with thunderous explosions. When the flames faded, nothing remained but charred ash. Scenes like this unfolded across southern Goblin City. Crushed by the Griffin Riders' aerial assault, the goblin army scattered and could not organize cohesive resistance. Against coordinated strikes from Blackstone City's soldiers, the conflict was no longer a battle, it was one-sided slaughter. Shortly after, at the center of southern Goblin City, the last 10,000 second-tier goblins formed a battle formation to mount a final stand. Humph! Lin Mulan waved her hand and unleashed more than a dozen azure third-tier talismans. Frigid energy surged outward like a tsunami. A shrill cracking sound echoed as over 1,000 second-tier goblins at the front of the formation froze solid within sheets of ice. A gap tore open in their battle array. Troops behind Lin Mulan seized the opportunity. They charged forward in a tapered white tiger formation and swiftly eliminated the last remnants of resistance. After 3 days of combat, more than half of the 10 million goblins in southern Goblin City had been annihilated. Only a small fraction fled toward the central capital deeper within the realm. Blackstone City's army suffered merely 5,000 casualties among tempered body martial artists and over 300 second-tier martial masters. Less than 5% of their fighting force fell. A smile tugged at Lu Sheng's lips, yet it faded quickly. Though Southern City housed vast numbers of goblins, the alien divine realm's true main force waited in the central capital far to the rear. 4/5 of all tiered creatures of the goblin divine realm were stationed there. Hundreds of mutated third-tier goblins awaited them as well. That was where the true enemy lay. Clear the battlefield. All troops rest and recuperate. Within the alien small realm, Yuzo wasted no time after the victory, issuing orders to organize post-battle cleanup. Meanwhile, outside in the viewing arena, student participants began removing their mechanical simulation helmets, their faces heavy with defeat. Most had chosen the path of supply-focused deities. Their subjects could not even hope to assault alien cities. Wild beasts encountered along the march had already overwhelmed them. This battlefield was not suited for them. Rather than sacrificing their subjects pointlessly, surrender was the sensible choice. Shui Jia conquered the alien divine realm. Someone shouted. Students who had exited the simulation turned toward the front display screens. The leaderboard flashed as a name rocketed to first place, pulling far ahead of all competitors. Rank 1, Nangong Wenxue from Linhai No. 1 High School. Alien Divine Realm conquered. Practical assessment score, 561. Similar scenes unfolded in simulation arenas across Linhai City. Rank 1, Long Outyin from Linhai No. 79 High School. Alien Divine Realm conquered. Practical assessment score, 578. Rank 1, Feng Yinyan from Linhai No. 108 High School. Alien Divine Realm conquered. Practical assessment score, 539. Rank 1. For schools formed each competition group, and every group produced exceptionally gifted prodigies whose divine realms far surpassed those of ordinary students. For them, the assigned alien realm was not a dangerous obstacle to overcome. They contemplated how to conclude the campaign efficiently and destroy the alien divine core as quickly as possible to achieve higher scores. Many fellow students within their schools could not perceive the gap, yet a vast, uncrossable divide separated these geniuses from the rest. Just as I predicted, Long Outyin claims the highest score. Nangong Wenxue faced massive goblin armies, yet she endured heavy casualties to destroy the divine core rapidly. Those losses dragged her score down by more than a dozen points compared to Long Outyin. The young lady of the Foam clan suffered terrible luck. She faced a demon deity whose forces countered her subjects, forcing a prolonged stalemate that wasted precious time. Linhai City has produced countless talents this year, yet the participant who surprises me most is Lu Sheng from the ordinary class of Linhai No. 1 High School. Representatives of powerful factions had forecast the top contenders long before the assessment began, and the results aligned closely with their predictions. All those leading contestants hailed either from influential clans of Linhai City or secured corporate investment and divine contracts after awakening. By comparison, Lu Sheng, a student with no background, commanded far greater attention. He faced a city teeming with tens of millions of creatures and captured it with such light losses. Clearly, we underestimated him. Indeed, his training of shadow griffins is masterful. Even my own Lin clan has attempted to domesticate these beasts, yet none achieve such seamless coordination with riders. He has brought 4 E-grade battle arrays to minor perfection. His insight into formations rivals Li Yong, who possesses an S-grade combat talent. Unfortunately, even with this strength, he still lacks the power needed to seize the central goblin capital. Within the goblin realm, after a month of rest, Blackstone City's army fully recovered. Troops lost during the prior battle were replenished from Lu Sheng's inner small realm. He still maintained 300,000 tiered ground soldiers, and the 50,000 Griffin riders lost barely 100 members. During this respite, forces from the eastern, western, and central cities launched repeated assaults. Yet they were spotted by patrolling Griffin riders long before drawing near, shattered by arrow volleys, and forced to retreat instantly. Even mutated third-tier goblin giants, with massive, hardened bodies, could not withstand barrages of fine iron arrows. Only third-tier goblin high priests could conjure magic barriers for defense, yet their mana reserves were limited. Shields could only cover small areas and could not block every incoming projectile. After sacrificing millions of goblin warriors, 3 goblin giants, and 1 goblin high priest, the goblin deity understood one truth. Open field battle against Blackstone City's army was hopeless. It ordered a full retreat. All goblin troops from the eastern and western cities were recalled to the central capital. Every available fighting force consolidated for a final decisive battle against Blackstone City. This outcome was exactly what Yuzo hoped for. He mimicked the bearing of a figure he admired, releasing Lin Mulan's hand. Under the gaze of hundreds of thousands of soldiers, he ascended the platform step by step and looked down upon the army. Yuzo's voice carried softly, yet every warrior present heard him clearly. Warriors of Blackstone City. Prior to today, we defended this captured city against countless goblin incursions. Never once have we tasted defeat. We have never lost before. We shall not lose now, nor will we ever lose in the future. Those wicked heretics have abandoned their eastern and western cities and gathered all their strength within the central capital, ready to fight to the bitter end. This battle will bring sacrifice, blood, and loss. Tell me, do you fear? Sweat streamed down the soldiers' faces. yet none showed the slightest trace of cowardice. Flames burned in their eyes, hungry to consume their foes. Their chi surged. They roared in unison. "We fear nothing." "Excellent." Yuzo's expression turned solemn, resolve ringing in his tone. "March forth at once. Eradicate the heretics." Lu Sheng watched the scene and nodded in satisfaction. Ever since the passing of Dragon, Yuzo had grown into a formidable leader. Now he demonstrated outstanding battlefield wisdom. With the activation of the SS grade trait Spiritual Energy Revival, many subjects born within Blackstone City awakened spiritual roots. Numerous talents with dual or triple spiritual roots emerged among them. Yuzo only possessed 4 spiritual roots, yet his strategic value rivaled even those gifted prodigies. As his thoughts drifted, the decisive final battle commenced. Fire! At the command, tens of thousands of Griffin riders ascended into the sky. Following the same tactic that secured Southern City, they prepared to destroy siege equipment and break enemy morale first. Whoosh! 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 Arrows poured down like rain. Yet for the first time, this flawless strategy met unforeseen resistance. Guk guk kaka! Upon the towering walls of the central capital, 40 to 50 goblin high priests clad in dark robes gripped ebony staffs and let out shrill cries. They waved their staffs, and winding, strange golden runes rose from the earth. A translucent dark barrier unfurled overhead, forming an impenetrable magical net shielding the entire wall. The first volley of arrows from the Griffin riders slammed against the barrier, stirring nothing more than tiny ripples across its surface. "Keep firing." The Griffin rider commander's eyes widened in shock as he shouted new orders. No matter how relentlessly they shot, they could not breach the magical net. Multiple volleys only dimmed the barrier's hue slightly. Boom, boom, boom. At that moment, dozens of 20-meter-tall goblin giants leaped from the city. They easily reached heights of 100 meters. They swung their massive hands, and hundreds of Griffin riders reloading arrows were crushed into mist. Lu Sheng frowned at the sight. This illustrated the clear divide between monster invasions and divine wars. Monster invasions pitted him against mindless creatures driven solely by rage and destruction. Divine wars forced him to confront intelligent nations united by faith, capable of devising complex combat strategies. This was the true challenge of divine war. The sudden assault by the goblin giants inflicted heavy casualties on the Griffin Knight Order, yet it also presented an opportunity. To strike targets hundreds of meters up in the air, they had to leap past the magical barrier formed by the goblin high priests. Launching themselves skyward left their entire bodies exposed within the Griffin Knights' firing range. Moreover, while the goblin giants possessed tremendous leaping power, they could not fly. After slaying hundreds of Griffin Knights, they lost any surface to push off from. Now they were plummeting toward the ground in free fall, perfect living targets. Focus fire on the goblin giants. The commander of the Griffin Knight Order suppressed overwhelming grief at the sight of hundreds of his brethren reduced to mist and roared out his orders. As both commander and tactician, he was not a martial warrior but a foundation establishment cultivator. Reinforced by spiritual energy, his voice carried for several kilometers in an instant. In an instant, thousands of Griffin Knights received the command. They drew their bows and took aim at the goblin giants, who had just reached the apex of their jump and begun falling. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of silver arrows glinting with cold light tore through the air, letting out shrill whistles before slamming into the rough hides of the goblin giants. Squelch, squelch. Though the skin of third-order goblins was tough, the fine iron arrows empowered by the armor-piercing trait pierced it effortlessly. Arrowheads sank deep into flesh, accompanied by dull thuds. Vast swathes of green blood splattered through the air. The goblin giants were soon riddled like hedgehogs, yet they endured the volley and retreated back into the central city. The moment they stepped inside, the magical barrier re-solidified, blocking every arrow that followed. The goblin giants were rapidly healed by restorative magic channeled by the high priests. Those healing incantations could even temporarily suppress the virulent poison from the venomous beetles. Using this tactic repeatedly, the Griffin Knight Order's casualties climbed steadily. They only managed to slay 2 third-order goblin giants after losing more than 3,000 men, worn down by the cumulative poison. The brutal toll stirred a flicker of pity in the commander's eyes. He sent a spiritual transmission to Yuzo, asking whether they should lift the siege and resume the attack another day. The reply he received was an unyielding order. Fight to the last. No retreat, not even if every last warrior perishes. Launch arrow barges and shifts to drain the mana of these goblin high priests. Without my command, Anyone who flees will face execution by my own hand. Left with no choice, the commander issued new orders. He split the remaining Griffin Knights into two groups, one to maintain relentless arrow suppression, and the other to return to the main camp to resupply arrows. Yuzo himself was filled with helplessness. Morale peaks on the first charge, it wanes with repeated assaults. He had delivered his pre-battle speech not long before, seeking to carry the momentum of Blackstone City's undefeated army straight to victory. If they retreated now, their fighting spirit would crumble drastically. Besides, the only strategy he could conceive to break through the Goblin High Priest's magical barrier was simple: attrition. If they could not shatter it outright, they would keep attacking until the priests exhausted their mana. Once that happened, the barrier would collapse of its own accord. But this process would demand countless lives. Yet war always demanded sacrifice. The Divine One proclaimed, when two worlds connect, if they do not stand as allies, they become mortal foes. The crisis will not end until one side is utterly destroyed. Blackstone City shall remember every sacrifice you make. Yuzo gazed at the figures plummeting from the heights in the distance, his resolve unshakable. As time wore on, casualties among the Griffin Knights mounted further. Soon, more than 10,000 archers of Blackstone City, along with their Knight Griffin mounts, were crushed to death. Even Lu Sheng felt a twinge of heartache at this stage. To serve as an archer in the army was proof of extraordinary talent. Most of these warriors outmatched the martial fighters of the ground forces. On top of that, raising a fully trained Knight Griffin mount took months of effort. These were all vital assets, and it would be a lie to claim he felt no loss. If converted to faith points, his losses would have surpassed hundreds of millions by now. All of this is worthwhile for the spot at the elite academy. The thought steeled his resolve, and he set aside his grief over the army's casualties. He recalled lessons from his theoretical classes. If the practical examination took the form of a God Realm war, priority must be given to destroying the alien God Kingdom's core, provided it was achievable. This was a critical threshold. Only by crossing it could candidates score above 500 points in the practical assessment. Only afterward could losses be weighed. Fortunately, the C-rank trait Ever Valiant and the Battle Soul buff kept every soldier steadfast despite the staggering death toll. Not a single warrior fled in fear. Boom, boom, boom. 3 days and 3 nights had passed since the start of the decisive battle. The Griffin Knights struck relentlessly around the clock. When their casualties reached 25,000, the tide of battle finally shifted. The bowl-shaped magical barrier arching over the walls of the central city, which had blocked everything, split open into countless fine cracks under a fresh wave of arrows. Through the fissures, the Third Order Goblin High Priests could be seen. Sweat streamed down their grotesque faces, their bloodshot eyes straining as they forced mana to flow. Their mana was nearly exhausted. The Griffin Knight commander spotted the change in an instant. Weariness melted away, replaced by wild elation, and he shouted new orders. Everyone, unleash all your power, hold nothing back. Crash. The magical barrier shattered completely. Countless arrows surged forth, claiming tens of thousands of goblin lives in a single instant. Several goblin high priests were caught off guard and slain as well. Without mana, they were merely stronger goblins. All forces advance. Slay these fiends. At the same time, the 300,000 ground troops marched forward as one. For 3 days, they had watched their comrades fall one after another. Rage had built to a boiling point, and only spilling enemy blood could sate it. Clouds of dust billowed. Shielded by the Griffin Knight Order's strikes, the 300,000 soldiers raced toward the city walls. Ladders were lowered, and countless warriors scrambled upward. Meanwhile, Yuzo gestured toward Lin Mulan beside him. She channeled her spiritual power and unleashed dozens of pre-inscribed Third Order explosion talismans. The talismans hurtled toward the massive stone city gate and detonated with a thunderous blast, reducing the 10-meter stone gateway to rubble. The city had fallen. Lu Sheng watched as hundreds of thousands of troops poured into the city and clashed with the goblin army. The decisive battle had begun. Empowered by a host of traits, the soldiers of Blackstone City fought with overwhelming strength. The very first clash shattered the goblin battle line. The 300,000 human warriors formed a sharp spearhead. For beastly phantoms summoned by battle formations roared overhead, driving straight for the heart of goblin territory. Yet the goblins were endless. Tens of thousands fell, only to be replaced by foes many times their number, an unceasing tide. Lives vanished in droves. In the cruelty of war, human and goblin alike became indistinguishable. Mountains of corpses piled up, and the air reeked of iron-rich blood. Death had been reduced to a statistic. While Lu Sheng poured his full focus into the God Realm War, commotion suddenly erupted within the team from number 1 high school's elite class 2 in Venue 3, managed by Linhai Municipal Education Bureau. Su, look up at the screen. What is it? Don't ask, just watch. Zhao Mingjian's eyes bulged as he stared rigidly at the massive display, pounding the shoulder of the man beside him. Easy, you'll bruise me. Su Yin had only just finished his own God Realm War and was tallying his losses. He could endure the rough handling no longer and turned to look at the screen. The next moment, his body froze. His expression outstripped even Zhao Mingjian's shock, his jaw dropping open. Good heavens, those are Lu Sheng's subjects? 300,000 awakened warriors forming a full army, each armed with at minimum F-grade weaponry. There are third-order beings, even a golden core ancestor. Is this real? Wow. Jessen, you were right. This Lu guy was hiding his strength all along, waiting for the tournament to surprise us. Lin He and Li Jessen turned toward the screen after hearing the news, their gazes filled with astonishment. 2 months prior, during the Poison Mire world exploration, his army's scale and strength had paled in comparison to theirs. Now, he had left them far behind. 300,000 awakened soldiers, reinforced by 50,000 Griffin Knights. This force could flatten their small worlds without breaking a sweat. How is this possible? Such formidable aerial units. Night Griffins are notoriously ferocious. How has he tamed them so completely? Lin He rubbed his eyes, still unable to believe what he saw. He had begun rearing Night Griffins earlier than Lu Sheng, supplying them with the finest food and training facilities available. Yet 60 years later, his small world only possessed a mere 4-digit number of aerial mounts, whose combat prowess left much to be desired. They struggled to hit targets while moving at high altitude. Compared to Lu Sheng's archers, who could strike vital goblin weak points from hundreds of meters away, the difference was night and day. Brother Lu, you are far more extraordinary than I imagined. Li Jessen stared at the screen, biting her lip and clenching her hands unconsciously. She had suspected Lu Sheng might be talented, yet she never imagined he was a genius among geniuses. With the strength he had displayed in this tournament, top-tier investment opportunities would no longer fall to her Li family. The four exchanged glances, their expressions complex. As time passed, more and more students terminated their assessments after reaching their limits. At the same time, a growing audience took notice of Lu Sheng, this dark horse competitor. Lu Sheng, the student who reached Wave 6 purely by relying on city walls during the monthly exam? Everyone thought he got lucky back then, but he's genuinely capable. How does he cultivate his subjects? Their combat power is astounding. A single one of his warriors can take on more than a dozen second-order goblins. Other than Nangong Wenxue, is there anyone in our school who can stand above him? Do you think he can conquer the alien god kingdom? It's too early to say. The goblin god realm he's invading has an enormous population. The longer the battle drags on, the worse it will be for him. True. The goblin god has sensed that his army dominates open combat. It has gathered its third-order warriors to launch a beheading strike. The feed on the screen showed Yuzhou commanding the Blackstone City army with flawless discipline. The four battle formations rotated continuously, tearing a gap through the goblin ranks. They pressed forward from this breach, cutting down wave after wave of goblin soldiers. But the goblin god quickly recognized the threat. It issued a divine edict, assembling an elite strike force of 50 warriors. Every single member of this squad boasted genuine third-order combat power. They used goblin giants to draw attention, while the goblin high priest shrouded the squad in illusion magic. The raiding party slipped past the main battle lines of Blackstone City and circled around to ambush Yuzhou from the flank. Protect the Lord Commander. The Griffin Knight Order patrolling the skies only detected the threat when the strike squad was less than 1 kilometer from Yuzhou. They immediately loosed volleys of arrows, which were effortlessly blocked by the high priest's magic. Kikik, now discovered, the strike squad discarded concealment. A crimson glow enveloped them, boosting their speed several-fold. Their faces twisted with rage as they fixed their gaze on the plain, looking yet resolute human man ahead. Hatred seethed within them. It was this human. This human had led an invasion of their world, laid siege to their city, slain countless kinsmen, and sought to exterminate their entire race. He deserved death. They had to kill him. They charged Yuzhou with everything they had. Soldiers attempting to block their path stood no chance against 53rd-order goblins. Temporary battle formations were shattered by brute force. Dark black magic washed over hundreds of Blackstone City warriors, whose internal organs ruptured. Blood streamed from their 7 orifices, and they collapsed to the ground. Yuzhou spotted the incoming strike squad. His pupils narrowed, and he channeled spiritual energy to flee toward the center of the army formation. Still, he was only a foundation establishment cultivator. Even with his best efforts, he could not match the speed of the magically enhanced third-order goblins. It was only a matter of time before they caught up. Damn it, Yuzo cursed inwardly, overcome with anxiety. As the second leader of the Giba tribe, reigning lord of Blackstone City, and commander of 300,000 troops, his death could reverse the tide of battle, which currently leaned in their favor. He did not fear death itself. He feared that his fall would shatter troop morale and ruin the Divine One's grand plan. Trapped toward the rear of the army, he was pinned down by endless waves of goblins to the front. He could not quickly redirect large numbers of soldiers to reinforce himself. Reinforcements would take time he no longer possessed. Lord Commander, flee. When the strike squad closed to a final 100 meters, a support unit of dozens of Foundation establishment cultivators finally arrived. They roared and positioned themselves between Yuzo and the goblins. Without hesitation, they ignited all their liquid spiritual energy and chose self-destruction. A deafening explosion erupted. Violent spiritual shockwaves surged outward, instantly killing the frontline goblin raiders and buying a precious window of time. Escape, Lord Commander. Your opponent is Man Xian, 36th Unit, 7th Army of Blackstone City. You will not harm the Lord Commander. I will fight you to the last breath. Elderly veterans, fresh recruits, and wounded soldiers recovering in the rear stepped forward one after another, blocking Yuzo's path. Yuzo heard the cries behind him, his eyes burning, yet he dared not look back. He could not let their sacrifices be in vain. Fortunately, the countless fallen warriors of Blackstone City bought enough time. A streak of golden light descended from the sky. Master, it was common knowledge that different races possessed inherent disparities in strength, and varying cultivation systems created clear gaps in combat capability. For instance, a gnome would almost always be outmatched by a dragon of equal rank. While goblins were not so inferior to humans, the black magic of goblin high priests paled in comparison to the spells of golden core cultivators. Therefore, the arrival of Lin Mulan completely shifted the course of the fight. Boom, 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 boom. A chain of third-order explosion talismans detonated mid-air. The charging goblin strike squad was battered relentlessly, their bodies torn open and blood gushing freely. You dare target my master? Every last one of you will die, Lin Mulan shouted as she unleashed her power. Surging spiritual energy guided several C-grade flying swords forward. In one strike, she cut down multiple injured high priests. The remaining 24 third-order goblins were trapped in place. Lin Mulan could not slay them all in a single assault, but with talismans, spells, and support from battle formations formed by thousands of soldiers, she easily held them captive. By the time the strike squad sought to retreat, it was already too late. Troops freed up from the front lines descended upon them. A battle formation of 10,000 human warriors pressed forward. Azure Dragon Formation, activate. Strike. Surrounded on all sides, the most elite combat force of the Goblin God realm was wiped out. Lu Xing only lost several hundred body refining warriors in the process. This victory sent morale among the Blackstone City army soaring, and they pushed the goblins into continuous retreat. Contrary to the assumptions of the observing teachers and students outside, prolonging the battle was not a disadvantage for Lu Xing. The longer the conflict dragged on, the greater his advantage grew. Everything traced back to two traits: D-rank trait Rapid Self-Healing and S-rank trait Berserker Physique. Rapid Self-Healing passive. Your subjects automatically recover from injuries. All non-lethal external wounds mend swiftly, though severed limbs cannot be regrown. Thanks to Berserker Physique, every injury boosted all three core attributes of his subjects. Combined with rapid self-healing, they maintained a perpetually wounded, peak combat state. From time to time, warriors pushed past their limits amid mortal danger, breaking through to higher realms temporarily. The Goblin Army, by contrast, though vast in numbers, had lost all high-tier combatants. Their remaining battle lines were disorganized, and they lacked the ability to heal continuously. Their defeat was inevitable. 1 month later, the war came to an end. Lu Xing broke through a goblin divine kingdom ruling tens of millions of subjects at the cost of losing 190,000 first-order living beings and 5,000 second-order living beings. The divine kingdom crumbled, and the goblin deity vanished into thin air alongside it. The examination has concluded. You have conquered a foreign divine kingdom. Advanced Intelligent Entity Xiaobao is analyzing your examination performance. Analysis complete. Combined with the examiner's scoring, your overall score for this practical assessment is 519 points. Listening to the gentle voice of the high-level intelligent entity, Lu Sheng nodded slightly and let out a long breath of relief. It was finally over. Without a doubt, this battle marked the heaviest casualties in Blackstone City's history. The Griffin Knight Order fared relatively well. Aside from losses sustained before the battle began, the towering goblin giants stood out conspicuously amid the urban combat that followed. They were tightly contained on the front lines and never got the chance to launch assaults against the knights. As such, the Griffin Riders suffered almost no further losses in the subsequent fighting, with just over 20,000 remaining. Even with various buffs active, however, the ground forces lost more than half their numbers against the overwhelming tide of goblins. Thankfully, with the Blessing's peaceful living and fertile homeland in effect, he had no fear of lasting repercussions from these losses. Watching his armies recuperate within the central city, Lu Sheng chose not to depart immediately. He issued a divine edict, ordering Yuzhou to head toward the rear of the central city. There, Yuzhou discovered a diamond-shaped crystal glowing pale white. Countless tiny specks of light swirled and flickered inside it, resembling a living star chart. The crystal pulsed like a heartbeat the moment it was touched, endless strands of rule power surging within. The Divine Kingdom Core. This was the foundation of a divine kingdom, the lifeblood of its deity. If the core sustained damage, no matter how prosperous the realm or powerful its god, the deity would instantly cease to exist. For this reason, every deity housed their core deep within their divine kingdom, guarded by heavy forces. Beyond the rewards from the academy, this divine kingdom core is easily the greatest gain of the tournament. Joy lit up Lu Sheng's eyes. With a thought, the radiant crystal slipped out of Yuzhou's grasp and materialized directly before him. An unwritten rule of the Divine Kingdom War assessment stated that any student who conquered a foreign divine kingdom would claim its core as their own. Once all his subjects finished recovering and returned to his miniature world, Lu Sheng seized the foreign divine kingdom core and refined and absorbed it in an instant. Boom. At that exact moment, streams of seven-colored radiance surged along the edges of Lu Sheng's miniature world. A vast stretch of land materialized out of nowhere. Mountains, rivers, and forests sprouted forth one after another. In the blink of an eye, the total area of the miniature world multiplied several times over. When the expansion finally halted, the territory of his miniature world had grown from 40,000 square kilometers to a staggering 300,000 square kilometers, 7 times its original size. The territory expanded this drastically? Could it be because this goblin divine kingdom covered such a vast expanse of land? Lu Sheng's heart trembled, shock etched across his face. He knew absorbing a divine kingdom core would expand one's miniature world, yet he never imagined gaining an additional 260,000 square kilometers. After all, the foreign deity he had defeated was merely a false god of the same tier as himself. What a pleasant surprise. Now, when it comes to the size of my miniature world, I stand equal to prodigies blessed with naturally vast initial realms. Lu Sheng nodded in satisfaction. A larger miniature world meant far more than extra living space for his subjects. It allowed for more spiritual plantations, expanded farmland, and scaled-up livestock breeding operations. Thanks to repeated population booms and large-scale farming and cultivation of spiritual herbs over time, the existing land in Lu Sheng's miniature world had reached its maximum sustainable population capacity. That explained why population growth within Blackstone City had gradually slowed. At its core, there was simply not enough land. After all, civilizations in this world built low-rise dwellings. Unlike the skyscraper-packed cities from his past life, where thousands could occupy a mere 100 square meters. While half of the newly acquired territory consisted of oceans and waterways, it would still ease his land shortage significantly. After casting one final glance at the crumbling miniature world, where all life withered and everything fell to ruin, Lu Sheng removed his neural immersion helmet. Inside venue number 3, Lu Sheng's examination came to an end, and the tournament results for the 4 high schools, Linhai number 1, number 3, number 8, and number 17 high schools, were fully compiled. First place, Nangong Wenxue from Linhai number 1 high school, practical assessment score, 561. Second place, Hong Chi from Linhai number 8 high school, foreign divine kingdom conquered. Practical assessment score, 520. Third place, Lu Sheng from Linhai number 1 high school. Foreign divine kingdom conquered. Practical assessment score, 519. 37th place, Li Yong from Linhai number 1 high school. Foreign divine kingdom unconquered. Practical assessment score, 458. 69th place, Zhao Mingjian from Linhai number 1 high school. Foreign divine kingdom unconquered. Practical assessment score, 421. Lu Sheng lifted his head and spotted his name sitting third on the leaderboard. Third place. Far higher than I expected. Aside from Nangong Wenxue, all the other elite class students from Linhai number 1 high fall far behind me. Even Hong Chi, the top talent from Linhai number 8 high, only outscored me by a single point. Lu Sheng suddenly wondered if he had overestimated the elite class students. He had caught up to them in just 3 months. Perhaps they were not as formidable as he'd imagined. Yet when he tore his gaze from the rankings and scanned the venue, he was taken aback. Countless eyes were fixed firmly on Lu Sheng, filled with surprise, confusion, and curiosity. To everyone present, Nangong Wenxue claiming first place across the 4 schools was undisputed. As a scion of a powerful faction possessing an A-rank talent, Hong Chi taking second was also understandable. But Lu Sheng, an ordinary class student with only a C-rank talent? His talent was decent, yet far from extraordinary. How had he managed to outmatch numerous A and B-rank talented divine descendants? Everyone burned with curiosity. How can this be? How is this possible? In a corner of the venue, Li Yang stared blankly at the name displayed above, unable to accept the outcome. Though he openly dismissed Lu Sheng as a rival within their class, only Li Yang himself knew how relentlessly he had pushed himself these past 2 months, determined to surpass him in this tournament. For 2 months straight, he spent every spare moment inside his miniature world, monitoring the development of his divine kingdom, fixing flaws as they arose, and pouring every resource into strengthening his subjects. To maximize his subjects' combat power, he even sacrificed the lives of some elderly dragonfolk to boost the effects of the A-rank building dragon blood pool and refine their bloodlines. Furthermore, all resources produced by the 2 A-rank buildings he gained by signing an S-rank divine pact with the Nangong family remained unsold, fully invested within his divine kingdom. During the Divine Kingdom War, he lost all 30,000 elite dragonfolk warriors just to secure 37th place. But what about Lu Sheng? What did he have to deserve such a rank? Li Yang felt no hatred or jealousy. He simply could not comprehend how, despite all his relentless effort, he still failed to catch up to this young man. I haven't lost yet. I possess an S-rank talent and investments from the Nangong family, the National College entrance examination. I will surpass you then. Li Yang gritted his teeth, forcing his raging emotions under control. A spark of reignited determination flickered in his eyes. This was merely a temporary setback. His Qi martial physique was a pure combat-type talent, its power growing stronger the further he advanced. When the national examinations arrived, he would close the gap once and for all. Student Lu Sheng, you've given your teacher an enormous surprise. Su Wanner walked over with a bright smile. Lu Sheng smiled faintly. It was nothing but luck. Your strength speaks for itself. Cultivating such a powerful army in just 3 months cannot be credited to luck alone. Luck may have played a role in the previous monthly assessment, but every student had given their absolute all during this inter-school tournament. Claiming third place under such fierce competition was undeniable proof of genuine strength. She smiled warmly at her modest student before shifting topics. By the way, student Lu, you conquered a foreign divine kingdom. Have you already absorbed its divine kingdom core? Lu Sheng nodded. I have. My miniature world expanded drastically, with many new landforms emerging. I'll need to replan everything once I head back. A trace of worry crept onto his face as he spoke. Planning a miniature world was no simple undertaking. It involved countless considerations. Calculating which species to introduce, mapping out the developmental trajectory of his divine kingdom based on his available resources, designating activity zones for subjects and vassals, planning specialized development zones, and much more. The sheer thought exhausted him. Sensing the source of his distress, Su Wanner offered a suggestion. Student Lu, as the third-place finisher of the tournament, your rewards from the Academy include 1A rank building, 1S rank spiritual herb, and 1 billion faith points. If you wish to avoid wasting time on planning, or fear making poor layout choices, you could hire a world planner to map out the long-term development blueprint for your miniature realm. A world planner. Su Wanner nodded earnestly. World planners are deities who specialize in designing miniature world development for others. Every planner boasts broad knowledge and abundant practical experience. They can help you make the most of your available resources, identify weak points, and spare you countless detours. What is the typical cost? Lu Sheng prioritized this question. Hiring help was only feasible if he could afford it. If a planner would drain all his resources, he would resign himself to handling the planning on his own. Pricing for world planners depends largely on the planner's divine rank. alongside the size and terrain complexity of the miniature world requiring planning. Even the cheapest options start at 30 to 40 million faith points. There are also inherent risks involved. For a planner to deliver a comprehensive optimization plan, they must enter your divine kingdom to conduct surveys. As a result, they will learn the coordinates of your realm. Of course, official planners affiliated with the Ministry of Education also take commissions. As state-employed deities, they are bound by the strictest divine pacts. Under no circumstances may they disclose their clients' divine kingdom coordinates in any form, completely eliminating security risks. Their fees, however, are several times higher, making them a less economical choice for you. Su Wanner explained patiently. Divine pacts function much like heavenly oaths. Even the most basic pact would inflict severe backlash, potentially leading to a deity's fall if broken. Official Ministry of Education personnel were bound by pacts reinforced by higher-order rules. The very thought of violating the agreement would trigger immediate rule backlash and instant annihilation. For this reason, most people who could afford a planner opted for official ministry staff. 30 to 40 million. Lu Sheng stroked his chin in contemplation. Hiring an official ministry planner would cost roughly 1 to 2 billion faith points. While expensive, it remained within his means for the time being. Before the tournament, he earned over 700 million faith points monthly just by cultivating stone milk bamboo and ice blossom with all things flourish. Now that his miniature world had expanded, scaling up his plantations would push his monthly earnings past 1 billion faith points. A sudden idea crossed Lu Sheng's mind. As a tenured teacher, Su Wanner was also bound by a divine pact with the Ministry of Education. She had decades of experience working in education and stood at the demigod realm. Surely she possessed considerable insight into miniature world planning. If Su Wanner could assist him, he would save billions of faith points outright. Working up his courage, he asked bluntly, "Teacher Su, I am rather short on funds. Would you be willing to help me plan my miniature world? Let me handle your planning." Su Wanner's mouth twitched at the question before she quickly waved her hands. "You overestimate your teacher. High school instructors like myself possess broad general knowledge. We understand the general traits of dozens of subject races and know the mainstream developmental paths available to each species. I could offer pointers, but carrying out detailed, long-term comprehensive planning tailored specifically to your miniature world is far beyond my expertise. I would hate to mislead you." "What a shame," Lu Sheng sighed. If free help from Su Wanner was off the table, he would have to seek out an official Ministry of Education planner. Independent freelance planners charged less, yet he refused to risk having his divine kingdom coordinates leak someday. He was far too prudent to chase small gains and invite massive disaster. Ahem. At that moment, light flickered on the open platform at the front, and Lu San reappeared. His gaze swept across hundreds of thousands of Senior 3 students from Linhai City as he spoke calmly. Results for all tournament groups have been finalized. However, the Education Bureau requires internal thorough analysis and ranking for potential evaluation scores. All students should monitor your official mailboxes closely. If you receive an admission offer from an elite university, the Ministry of Education will notify you immediately. I hereby declare this tournament concluded. The instant his words faded, Lu San's projection vanished. The projections of representatives from more than a dozen major factions flickered and disappeared one after another shortly after. Lu Sheng could not shake the feeling that every single one of them had deliberately glanced toward him before leaving. It made sense. Compared to the divine descendants from elite classes backed by numerous demigods, he only had 2 demigods supporting him. Securing third place naturally drew attention. Lu Sheng felt no anxiety. Should the Education Bureau press him for an explanation of his strength, he could reveal a few additional talent runes and claim they were hidden innate talents. Individuals possessing dual talents were rare, but not unheard of in this world. The excuse would hold up perfectly. Student Lu Sheng, multiple students from Linhai number 1 High secured top 100 rankings in this tournament. Your high placement grants you priority selection rights for a rank buildings. You will choose right after Nangong Wenxue from Elite Class 1. We should head back to school promptly. Once all the dignitaries on stage departed, Su Wanner walked over to remind him with a smile. Understood. Lu Sheng nodded and turned toward the venue exit. Su Wanner crossed to the other side of the student formation and approached Li Yong, smiling warmly. Student Li Yong, you delivered an outstanding performance. Among all ordinary class students from our school, you rank second only to Lu Sheng. You've brought great honor to our teachers. Su Wanner had long observed Li Yang's relentless hard work, especially for a student born into modest circumstances, and she was quick to offer encouragement. Yet these words stung sharply in Li Yang's ears. I understand, teacher. Liang took a deep breath, unclenched his tight fists, and followed the others out of the venue. In high spirits, Lu Sheng splurged and boarded an airship to travel to school. These vehicles originated from the cyber divine realm, with fares starting at 10,000 faith points per single trip. Following the location provided by his teacher, he soon arrived at the same office where he had previously collected his B-rank cultivation technique subsidy. This time, besides Vice Principal Su Zheng, a tall young woman stood inside. Her features were pleasant, if not striking, and she carried a bold, commanding aura reminiscent of the fierce female leaders he had seen in Korean media from his past life. "Student Lu Sheng, you've arrived. You'll need to wait a moment." Nangong Wenxue claimed first place, so I must complete all resource and building handovers with her first. Su Zheng offered an explanation and personally pulled out a chair for Lu Sheng to sit. Lu Sheng could clearly sense the shift in the vice principal's attitude. Last time he collected the cultivation technique, Su Zheng's demeanor held appreciation mixed with a hint of opportunism. Now, a true god and vice principal of a municipal high school was personally arranging seating for him, a clear sign of immense regard. Lu Sheng expressed his gratitude politely. "Thank you, principal. I am happy to wait." It was not long before the handover between the two concluded. A rare smile appeared on Nangong Wenxue's face, and her gaze toward Lu Sheng softened noticeably. As a core member of the Nangong clan, one of the four great families of Linhai City, 50 billion faith points were merely a supplementary gain for her. The wonder-active volcano, however, was invaluable. Combined with her talent, it would elevate the quality of goblin bloodlines within her divine kingdom to an entirely new tier. She would never have qualified to obtain such a high-grade building without this newly launched inter-school tournament organized by the Education Bureau. Nangong, Lu Sheng. As top 3 finishers of this tournament, both of you stand a strong chance of receiving offers from elite universities. Elite universities gather top students from schools across the city. Fierce competition over limited resources and authority will be inevitable once you enroll. You both attend Linhai No. 1 High. Look out for one another in the future. Su Zheng offered a word of advice. Understood. Nangong Wenxue acknowledged him, nodded toward Lu Sheng, then left the office. Now then, student Lu Sheng, I will keep this brief. The 1 billion faith points awarded for third place will be transferred to your account within an hour. Let us proceed to select your A-rank building and S-rank spiritual herb. Su Zheng waved his hand, and numerous light curtains materialized out of thin air. Detailed descriptions of the Grade A buildings stored by the school appeared suspended in midair. Grade A building. Wind, Spirit, Moon, Shadow. Place one subject with an advanced talent including, but not limited to spirit roots, physiques, innate gifts, bloodlines, etc., and another without advanced talents within the structure simultaneously. The building can transplant the advanced talent to the second individual, enabling acquired modification of innate talents. Its activation consumes no energy whatsoever, and there is no limit to usage frequency. However, transplanting an increasing number of talents raises the risk of rejection. Exceeding the limits of a mortal body will lead to violent bodily disintegration. Market valuation, 3.5 billion faith points inventory. 1. Grade A building. 9-story alchemist pagoda, a functional structure connected to an underground fire vein that channels controllable alchemical flame to every level of the tower. One can master flame manipulation with minimal practice. The bottom 3 floors grant effects equivalent to Grade E alchemical furnaces. The middle 3 floors match Grade D furnaces, and the top 3 floors rival Grade C furnaces. Furthermore, alchemy conducted within the pagoda yield a 100 boost to pill formation success rate. In addition, prolonged residence within the pagoda gradually elevates the soul rank of alchemists. Market valuation, 6 billion faith points inventory. 1. Grade A building. Wood spirit pool, a spirit pool brimming with dense wood-attuned spiritual energy. Wood-aligned beings experience drastically accelerated cultivation speed within its waters, alongside improvements to their fundamental physique. Even creatures without wood element talents will gain enhanced physical vitality and relief from chronic ailments after entering. Extended immersion may even spawn a wood element talent. Human subjects, for instance, may awaken wood-attuned spirit roots or wood element physiques after long-term soaking. Market valuation, 5 billion faith points inventory. 1. Grade A building. Plague Tower, a defensive structure that continuously releases virulent pathogens across an extremely wide radius once erected. Upon infection, a creature's cells dissolve instantly. Even 4th-tier beings cannot survive more than a single day after exposure. Note, it must be constructed far from one's divine realm. Contagion risks still persist, requiring extreme caution. Suited for gods following the necrotic path. Market valuation. For billion faith points inventory. 1. As strategic grade resources, every grade A building cannot be purchased on the open market. For this reason, Linhai No. 1 High School only possessed 4 within its reserves. Though grade A buildings boasted overwhelmingly powerful abilities, not all were suitable for Lu Sheng. Take the Plague Tower as an example. While Lu Sheng's subjects within the small world possessed toxin immunity and immunity to all ailments and would remain uninfected, other species inhabiting his realm lacked such protective buffs and would succumb to the plague. His divine realm also contained large-scale breeding zones. An uncontrolled outbreak would trigger catastrophic losses. Protected by the Education Bureau, I do not need to overly worry about external threats before advancing to demigod, as long as I keep the coordinates of my divine realm concealed. My current priority remains developing my realm. Investing in defensive buildings would be a waste. That said, choosing between the 3 remaining buildings left him torn. After brief contemplation, Lu Sheng turned towards Su Zheng with anticipation shining in his eyes. Principal Su, do you have any recommendations? As a true god, Su Zheng possessed far greater knowledge than Lu Sheng. Advice from him would help make a better decision. Student Lu Sheng, I suggest you choose between the 9-story Alchemist Pagoda and the Wood Spirit Pool. Wind Spirit Moon Shadow and the Plague Tower have sat unused within the school inventory for many years. Their functions are straightforward, yet they carry severe drawbacks. Noticing Lu Sheng's earnest expression, Su Zheng smiled and shared his analysis. Teacher Su told me your divine realm follows a path combining physical and spiritual cultivation. The 9-story Alchemist Pagoda will increase your number of alchemists and stabilize your supply of medicinal pills, freeing your cultivators to focus on combat. If you place the Wood Spirit Pool inside your realm, the odds of your subjects awakening wood-attuned spirit roots will surge. It serves as another method to raise your people's innate qualifications. Personally, I lean toward the 9-story Alchemist Pagoda. You have not affiliated yourself with any major faction, leaving you with limited sources of income. With the Pagoda, you will face no shortages of medicinal pills before becoming a demigod. Surplus pills can be traded for faith points to fund further development. The Wood Spirit Pool, by contrast, serves a far narrower purpose. In that case, I will select the 9-story Alchemist Pagoda. Following Su Zheng's guidance, Lu Sheng reached his decision quickly. Exploration of the poison miasma world was less than 1/3 complete. He planned to send larger military contingents there soon, which would drive pill consumption sharply higher. All things considered, the 9-story Alchemist Pagoda was the superior option. Very well. Your grade A building has been selected. The 3rd place reward also includes 1 grade S spirit plant. The school only has a single specimen, so there is no need for you to deliberate. Su Zheng pinched the air, and 2 gilded cards materialized in his palm. One card bore the image of a towering pagoda wreathed in surging flames. The other depicted a multicolored giant tree piercing the heavens. Grade S Spirit Plant, Elemental World Tree. This spirit tree bears fruits embodying the 5 fundamental elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. When your human cultivators consume elemental fruits matching their spirit root affinity, their cultivation speed and spirit root aptitude will improve. This tree is merely 500 years old. Once it matures to 1,000 or 10,000 years of age, it may birth a rare type of affiliated being known as elemental envoys. These creatures innately wield elemental magic. They possess a bloodline divine ability called elemental vision, an invaluable skill for exploration, making them ideal scouts. A priceless treasure. Lu Sheng took the 2 cards, excitement stirring in his heart. He owned the trait All Things Flourish, granting a 10-fold growth acceleration. Speeding the elemental world tree's growth from 500 to 1,000 years would only take 50 years, perfectly aligning with his strengths. Still, instead of immediately deploying the 9-story Alchemist Pagoda and Elemental World Tree, Lu Sheng kept the cards in his possession. Selecting an appropriate placement for high-tier buildings and spirit plants required careful consideration. These structures occupied vast territories, and their placement could drastically alter the returns they generated. Since he intended to hire a professional realm planner, there was no rush. Student Lu Sheng, your performance in the grand competition guarantees admission to an elite academy. Do not forget your alma mater in the future. Lu Sheng endured lengthy small talk with Su Zheng before finally taking his leave of the office. He booked an appointment with a senior planner from the Education Bureau via his smart wristband, then boarded a floating shuttle to his next destination. While traveling, he turned his attention to his small world. Though merely over an hour had passed in reality since the grand competition concluded, more than half a month elapsed within the small world. After this extended period of recovery, Blackstone City regained its former prosperity, its population climbing back to 1 million. Elderly survivors of the campaign against the Goblin Divine Realm regularly recounted tales of wartime heroism in city taverns, inspiring young men to enlist. In the blink of an eye, the city lord stood on the brink of capture by those green-skinned monsters. Then golden light flashed. The breathtakingly beautiful city lord's spouse descended from the sky. She hurled talismans, sending the heretics scattering in chaos. It was an incredible sight. Slamming his palm against the table as passion surged, the elder continued. Then Madame Lin wove hand seals, launching countless flying swords. She shouted, "Form the formation." The disoriented heretics stood no chance. Within half an hour, every last one lay defeated on the ground. Tell me, everyone, was it the hero saving the maiden, or the maiden saving the hero? Ha ha! When the elder finished his tale, cheers erupted through the tavern. Countless young listeners burned with resolve. Dear passenger, you have arrived at the Municipal Education Bureau. 10,913 faith points have been automatically deducted from your account. Wish you a pleasant day. Lu Sheng was absorbed in the story when the shuttle's automated voice pulled his consciousness back to reality. I hope this renowned planner lives up to the reputation. The shuttle hatch slid open. Lu Sheng stepped out and walked toward the advanced automated entrance ahead. Good afternoon, sir. Do you have an appointment? I do. Lu Sheng displayed his identification. The receptionist smiled warmly after scanning his details and quickly handed over a card. Very well, sir. Our gold-tier planner awaits you in private room 510. You may proceed now. Lu Sheng nodded and followed a guide into an intelligent elevator. The attendant briefly presented credentials, and the elevator began moving automatically. The Municipal Education Bureau was truly backed by official power, overflowing with wealth. This elevator might well be an advanced artifact originating from a mechanical divine realm. When I accumulate enough resources, I want to own a residence equipped with an elevator like this, Lu Sheng thought silently. Moments later, the elevator door slid open. He followed the directions and located room 510. Upon entering, Lu Sheng felt as though he had stepped into a separate dimension. All outside noise vanished, leaving only the faint sound of his shoes against the floor. The gold-tier planner assigned by the Education Bureau lay reclined on a wooden chair with closed eyes. He opened them slightly the instant Lu Sheng stepped inside, speaking in a calm tone. The contract rests on the table. Read it yourself. A true god. Lu Sheng realized immediately upon first sight that this planner was a true god, and far from an ordinary one. His cultivation rank surpassed Su Zheng, vice principal of Linhai No. 1 High School. Lu Sheng swallowed nervously. Rather than feeling offended by the man's aloof demeanor, he walked obediently to the table and picked up the contract. The terms were simple. One party provided payment, the other rendered service. The planner would first observe the client's divine realm and set a price based on its conditions. The client could decline the offer if unsatisfied, yet the deposit would not be refunded. Lu Sheng had paid a deposit of 30 million faith points just to reserve a gold-tier planner. The cost was immense. I am ready, senior. After carefully reading every clause on the document, Lu Sheng took a deep breath and bowed respectfully toward the man on the chair. Very well. Before Lu Sheng could process what happened, an immense pulling force seized him. His consciousness drifted into the world sea, hovering above his small world. The impassive planner stood beside him. The might of a true god is unfathomable. Lu Sheng marveled inwardly. Divine realm surface area, 300,000 square kilometers. Land accounts for 58, oceans 42. The terrain consists mainly of plains, mountains, and hills. Inhabitants include humans, greystone gnomes. After a single sweeping glance, the planner stated his quotation. In addition to your deposit, pay another 350 million faith points, and I will deliver a complete comprehensive plan for your divine realm. Every region will be optimized, and your small world will undergo thorough transformation. Rest assured my planning will not be wasted. Official Education Bureau planners must meet performance quotas. If you remain dissatisfied after completion, we provide after-service adjustments. Even true gods face performance targets? Lu Sheng wondered silently. He promptly signed a contract, and the planner officially began his work. You appear to be a high school student, judging by your features. I will speak plainly, directly, and accurately, without roundabout phrasing. Among all pseudo-gods I have consulted, your small world possesses some of the finest natural conditions I have seen, yet your layout is utterly disorganized. It resembles blocks stacked haphazardly by a toddler, lacking all structure. You are squandering excellent potential. Your available resources score a perfect 100, yet your utilization rate stands below 1%. It astonishes me that a small world of merely 300,000 square kilometers, blessed with abundant spiritual energy, could be managed so inefficiently. Has the standard of education declined so drastically these days? Lu Sheng was stunned by the planner's opening critique. Up until this moment, he had believed his planning skills fairly competent. Many students in the ordinary class 11 of Senior 3 failed to build stable ecosystems or guarantee food supplies for their subjects. Yet a realization struck him. Elite class students with backing from powerful clans could enlist family planners free of charge. His planning ability outshone most peers, yet his competitors were never merely fellow students. They included true gods with centuries, even millennia of experience. This explains why ordinary class students rarely outperform elite class rivals. Beyond talent and resources, proper divine realm layout constitutes a critical advantage. Lu Xing understood at last. With professional planners, students supported by powerful factions could utilize resources to 100, even 200 or 300 of their potential. Students without such aid struggled to harness a mere 10 to 20 of what they owned. To draw a simple analogy, certain substances are harmless individually, yet dangerous when combined improperly. Lu Sheng faced exactly this predicament. He had advanced to claim third place in the four-school grand competition not thanks to skillful planning, but purely due to stacked innate traits driving the passive growth of his small world. Unknown to Lu Sheng, his realm had been developing under crippling constraints for 90 years. I see now. Everything makes sense. Light flickered in Lu Sheng's eyes as he grasped why elite class students developed their realms far faster. He bowed deeply toward the planner beside him. My planning knowledge is indeed lacking. Please guide me, Senior. Rest assured, now that I have accepted your payment, I will devote my full effort to your realm. Seeing Lu Sheng's respectful attitude, the planner's expression softened slightly. Do you possess any undeployed resources? Bring them forth if you do. Also share your liquid faith point reserves. Your small world is limited in size, so I need full statistics of all assets to formulate an optimal layout. I do, Senior. I hold roughly 1.3 billion faith points, alongside 1 grade A building and 1 grade S spirit plant. Lu Xing quickly produced the 2 gilded cards. An enormous 9-story pagoda and a multicolored sky-piercing giant tree materialized within the divine realm, suspended 10,000 meters above the ground rather than placed on land. The 9-story alchemist pagoda and elemental world tree. You own assets worth over 10 billion, yet failed to hire a planner sooner. The planner looked confused. Combined, the pagoda and spirit tree exceeded 10 billion in value. Yet the layout of this student's small world clearly had never undergone systematic planning. With assets of such magnitude, why delay hiring a planner costing merely tens of millions of faith points? It was the client's private business, however, so he set aside his curiosity and continued. Your small world suffers from countless flaws. We will resolve them one by one. First comes your spirit plants and cultivated land. If I am not mistaken, your innate talent accelerates plant growth. Medicinal herbs, such as revitalizing grass, moonblood orchid, and ice soul marrow ease resource consumption for your alchemists. Yet your small world has limited territory. Only half the land mass is viable for settlement, and cultivable ground is even scarcer. Every stretch of land carries immense value. These low-grade herbs yield minimal profit while occupying vast tracts of land and hindering your subjects' expansion. All of these medicinal plants should be sold off. The ice blooms and blaze fruit trees must also be liquidated. The Grade S elemental world tree can replicate and surpass their functions, freeing up extensive territory. This formed the planner's first phase of recommendations. The moonlit water blooms growing within your rivers are worthless. Even multiplied tenfold, the spiritual energy they generate fails to amount to 1/10,000th of your realm's supply. Sell all of them without exception. Your livestock breeding operations are inefficient. Without your growth buffs, they occupy massive territory, require constant labor from your subjects, and deliver low returns. Purchase 10 Grade B buildings known as pools of abundant provisions. With your realm's spiritual energy density, they can supply sufficient meat for a population of tens of millions. Position the elemental world tree in northern Blackstone City. Direct your realm's leaders to expand the city outward with the tree at its center. As usable land expands, your population will naturally rise. When population hits the carrying capacity threshold, Competition over elemental fruits will spark conflicts that accelerate civilizational advancement and screen for superior genes. Liquidate all independent alchemical furnaces scattered across your realm. The 9-story alchemist pagoda fulfills all your refining requirements. Eventually, you will produce a surplus of pills. You can sell these in bulk as a primary source of income, much like the spirit stone milk traded from Stone Bamboo Gorge. Additionally, your oceans and rivers are concentrated along the eastern edge of the world. Human settlements face severe water shortages for drinking, irrigation, and spirit plant cultivation. Purchase 30,000 stone giant affiliated beings immediately to construct a grand canal, diverting eastern water westward. The planner truly lived up to his professional reputation. Every suggestion targeted fundamental weaknesses within Lu Sheng's small world. All redundant buildings and spirit plants would be sold. Development would center around the 9-story alchemist pagoda and his innate trait, all things flourish. Establishing 2 primary revenue streams. The first relied on pill sales. The second centered on cultivating premium spirit plants for trade. Lu Sheng performed quick calculations. Operating at full capacity, if the 9-story alchemist pagoda focused entirely on crafting grade D body cleansing pills, the small world could produce upwards of 10,000 pills each year, valued at 10,000 faith points apiece. After deducting raw material costs, pill sales alone would generate over 100 million faith points of profit daily. All surplus capital would then be reinvested into spirit plant cultivation. It's a pity. Although the spirit herb garden is a grade B structure, its functions make it ideal for investment, essentially guaranteeing steady profits, yet none are available on the market. As for the ecosystem inside the small world, the overwhelmingly abundant spiritual energy has been subtly improving the environment across the entire realm, leaving him free to leave matters largely unattended. All right, Lu Sheng nodded and swiftly set to work. He directly sold off a large stock of spirit plants, medicinal ingredients, captive blood boars, Red Bulls, and a jumble of other items. After deducting taxes, he earned a total of 1.62 billion faith points. Faith point balance, 2.901 billion. Lu Sheng then locked onto the grade B structure, Feast Grove, and purchased 10 of them in one go, positioning all of them around his city. Feast Grove, centered upon an inexhaustible spring of flesh that continuously generates meat. The richer the spiritual energy of its surroundings, the greater the quantity and higher the grade of meat produced. Price, 100 million faith points. Afterwards, Lu Sheng bought 30,000 stone golems, leaving him with 37 billion faith points remaining. Human settlements are ultimately built on land. Your small world boasts such extensive ocean territory. Developing marine spirit plantations is a necessity. It can even drive the growth of maritime combat power, the planner reminded him. He tapped his smart wristwatch, and information regarding a spirit plant popped up. Grade D spirit plant, juvenile iron vine sea kelp. Grows in all marine environments and is extremely easy to cultivate. Once mature after 100 years, its bark can be woven into materials, serving as one of the primary components for the Grade D armor, iron vine armor. Price, 1,000 faith points. The planner explained, iron vine sea kelp is a common resource. Juvenile saplings cost 1,000 faith points, yet fully mature plants sell for 2,000 faith points. Most importantly, it grows in the ocean, requiring no land space and demands no supervision from your subjects. Lu Sheng nodded and immediately purchased 1 million juvenile iron vine sea kelp saplings, releasing all of them into the ocean to the east of his world. 1 million saplings would generate 2 billion faith points in 10 days, a net profit of 1 billion faith points. Combined with revenue from stone milk bamboo and refined medicinal pills, he could earn well over 10 billion faith points each month if he chose to sell everything. It was an utterly staggering figure. Even Lu Sheng's parents, who existed at the demigod rank, earned less than 1 billion faith points monthly, with the bulk of their income spent maintaining their god realm. In other words, as a newly awakened false god who had possessed his small world for merely 3 months, his income had already surpassed that of demigods. In the time that followed, under the planner's guidance, Lu Sheng carried out constant renovations, bringing sweeping changes to his small world in a short span. Divinity, Lu Sheng, God rank, false god, small world area, 300,000 square kilometers, terrain, primarily plains, hills, mountains, and oceans. Subjects, human race, subject population, 1,013,521, 109 Tier 3 beings, 30,910 Tier 2 beings, 351,356 Tier 1 beings, 631,146 unranked beings. Retainers, stone golems 43,931 Tier 1 beings. Greystone goblins 16,003 Tier 1 beings. Innate talents. Grade C Fertile Homestead. Rank X Lord of Inscriptions Abridged. Assets. 1 times S Grade Spirit Plant Elemental God Tree. 1 times Grade A Structure 9-story Pill Tower. 1 times Grade A Structure Martial Training Ground. 4 times Grade B Structure Spirit Eye Spring. 1 times Grade B Structure Spirit Herb Garden. 1 times Grade B Structure 100 Crafts Workshop. 10 times Grade B Structure Feast Grove. 5 times Grade C Library. 1 times Grade E Fine Iron Vein. 401 times Grade B Spirit Plant Stone Milk Bamboo. 1,000,000 times Grade D Spirit Plant Iron Vine Sea Kelp. 101 times Tier 1 Spirit Flower Sprites. 13,066 times Tier 2 Night Griffins. 43,903 times Tier 1 Night Griffins. 13,360 times Tier 1 Poison Beetles. Faith Points. 370 million daily faith generated by subjects. 73,447.06. Though the city competition cost Lu Xing many Tier 1 and Tier 2 beings, numerous individuals broke through their limits amid life or death combat, advancing to higher realms on the spot. Less than a year had passed since the God Realm War, yet the number of Tier 3 beings had surpassed 100, 4 of whom were Golden Core cultivators. Still, that was secondary. After clearing out livestock farms and vast stretches of spirit medicinal fields, enormous swathes of land within the small world had been freed up, and productivity was liberated. The spirit flower sprites were fully capable of tending all spirit plants inside the spirit herb garden. The feast groves completely eliminated the time-consuming complexities of animal husbandry. Influenced by the world's tenfold amplified spiritual energy, the meat they produced was of superior quality, far surpassing the former blood boars and red bulls. With bonuses from various inscriptions, the rate of elemental fruit generation reached terrifying levels. Nourished by abundant spiritual energy, the number and strength of cultivators began explosive growth. The power of his subjects shifted for the better nearly every single day. It would not be long before his small world underwent a qualitative leap. When Lu Sheng returned home, Lu Tiansheng and Wang Ning were already waiting for him in the living room. The table was filled with hot dishes he loved, alongside a 3-tier fruit cake. "Mom, Dad, what's all this?" Lu Sheng looked at the excited pair, suspicion flickering across his face. "Son, Teacher Su told us everything. You claimed 3rd place in the city-wide competition. We're so proud of you." Wang Ning hurried over and pulled Lu Sheng into a tight embrace. Lu Tianxing remained calmer. He stepped forward, clapping Lu Sheng on the shoulder, and sighed emotionally. 3rd place among 4 high schools. I never imagined I would raise such an extraordinary genius. Do you remember Uncle Zhao? Thanks to you. He personally called us today to inquire about you. You've brought your father great honor. That's right, son. After the competition ended, where did you go? You came back extremely late. Countless companies in the city have contacted us, hoping to invest in you. Wang Ning asked with concern. Lu Sheng's brows tightened upon hearing this. You didn't sign anything with them, right? Of course not. Lu Tiansheng waved his hand, pride shining on his features. My son is this outstanding. We get to choose them, not the other way around. Good. Lu Sheng let out a quiet breath. He trusted his parents, yet he still feared they might secretly sign contracts behind his back, which would spell trouble for him. Growl Lu Sheng rubbed his empty stomach and scratched his head. Mom, Dad, let's eat first. I've been running errands all day, and I'm starving. Right? Food first. They enjoyed a small celebratory meal together. After dinner, Lu Sheng retreated to his room and opened his smart wristwatch. His inbox showed 99+ unread emails. Aside from messages and group chats, nearly every mail contained partnership invitations from major powers in Linhai City. The contract grades had risen from Grade C and Grade B after the monthly examination, with all new offers starting at Grade S. He casually opened one invitation. Dear Lu Sheng, this is legal counsel for the Long Clan. Congratulations on securing 3rd place in the city-wide competition. Your performance in the tournament was remarkable. The elders of the Long Clan recognize your immense potential and are prepared to offer you a Grade S contract. The main terms are outlined below. First, upon signing the contract, the Long Clan will immediately provide an investment of 3 billion faith points, 2 Grade A structures from the clan reserves, free weekly planning consultations with a Long Clan planner, and a fixed 500 million faith point investment fund each month. Additional investment will be granted should your future achievements prove exceptional. The offer was extremely generous. Above all else, the two grade A structures and free access to a long clan planner would drastically accelerate development within Lu Shang's small world. But appearances could be deceiving. The Long Clan was a clan, an interest group. They valued him solely for his worth. An investment would inevitably come with demands. Lu Shang continued scrolling until he reached the very bottom of the document. The Long Clan's investment will continue until you ascend to demigod. If you remain enrolled in school upon reaching this milestone, investment will be increased. However, once you advance to first-tier true god, you must join the Long Clan as an external retainer and serve the clan for 300 years. All spoils obtained on the outer domain battlefield must first be offered to the Long Clan. If you fail to reach demigod status during your schooling years, investment will gradually decrease. Even so, upon becoming a demigod, you will still be required to serve the Long Clan for 100 years. Lu Sheng proceeded to check other emails. Unlike the investment offers following the monthly examination, every proposal from the four great clans and other Linhai enterprises was now a grade S contract, with far harsher requirements attached. Sigh, there truly is no such thing as a free lunch. Lu Sheng sighed, understanding their stance. Understanding, however, did not mean he had to agree. In his previous life, he had been overworked and exploited, leaving him instinctively resistant to contracts that amounted to indenture. 3 months prior, he might have been dazzled by the staggering investment sums and impulsively signed on the dotted line. Now, he earned more than 10 billion faith points every single month. Outside investment would merely be a bonus. Furthermore, with the establishment of the Elite Academy, the Great Xia government would pour immense resources into the school. Compared to government support, investment from private corporations and clans paled in comparison. With that thought, Lu Sheng deleted all contract invitations without further hesitation, then switched over to his group chat interface. Group chat. Hall of Divine Powers Li Jiasin at Lu Sheng. Congratulations, Brother Lu. Your admission into the Elite Academy is all but guaranteed. We'll all be counting on you from now on. Su Yun at Lu Sheng. Brother Lu, you're holding out on us. 3rd place in the 4-school competition. Within Linhai No. 1 High School, you stand second to none. If I'd known earlier, I would have clung to you for support. Linhe at Lu Sheng. Brother Lu. To be honest, I want your Night Griffin taming guide. Zhao Mingjian, brother. The chat log stretched on for pages, nearly every message revolving around Lu Sheng. Even Zhao Mingjian, who had stunned everyone by claiming 69th place in the competition, had been completely overshadowed. Zhao Mingjian had planned to show off after the tournament, and the lack of attention left him dejected, resulting in far fewer messages from him than usual. Amused, Lu Sheng typed 4 words casually. Pure luck. The message barely sent before new replies flooded in. Zhao Mingjian, the show-off, stepped aside. And now we've got an even bigger one, Su Yun complained. Zhao Mingjian, Linhe. Brother Lu, how did you tame the night griffins? The coordination between your subjects and the beasts is incredible. Though the gap between them had widened, Lu Sheng still regarded these people as friends. He patiently explained the griffin tempering method to Linhe. What results Linhe achieved after passing the knowledge to his subjects was no longer Lu Sheng's concern. In the days following the citywide competition, schools entered a short break. Lu Sheng spent these days at home closely monitoring developments within his small world. Year 93 of the small world. Following Yuzo's arrangements, Chen Guang and the other 3 Tier 3 subjects each led 100,000 people out of Blackstone City to construct 3 new cities surrounding the elemental god tree, which were now beginning to take shape. Led by human warriors, tens of thousands of stone golems crossed the forest and arrived at the eastern sea to excavate soil and build dams. Blessed with inscription bonuses such as rapid excavation, reduced fatigue, and infrastructure master, 3 years after the planner laid out the blueprint, over half of the Grand Canal project had been completed. That evening, a soft chime emanated from Lu Sheng's smart wristwatch. Ding! You have received an email from the Linhai Municipal Education Bureau. Please check promptly. Lu Sheng narrowed his eyes and immediately opened the message. Dear Lu Sheng, based on your performance in the recent competition, after extensive evaluation by the Education Department, you have been granted admission to Linhai Elite Academy. Following comprehensive assessments conducted by the school, your final potential ranking is 1. You have been automatically assigned to Class 1. Please report to Linhai Elite Academy in Central Linhai City at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ranked first in potential? Lu Sheng froze, caught off guard. He possessed merely grade C talent, a regular student. Even within the 4-school competition, he had not claimed first place, yet he topped the citywide student potential rankings. Logically impossible, unless. Could officials from the Education Bureau have guessed I possess a hidden talent, resulting in an elevated potential rating? Lu Sheng speculated, and the more he considered it, the more plausible it seemed. By conventional standards, a student with grade C talent and no backing from major forces could not, no matter how skilled at planning and micromanagement, surpass countless true god descendants to secure third place in the competition within only 3 months. The only explanation was a hidden talent. It was likely that many outside observers already harbored suspicions. He could only wonder what grade the Education Bureau had assigned to his hidden talent. To outranked talents such as Long Outyin and Nangong Wenxue, it was undoubtedly extremely high. Beep, beep, beep. At that moment, Zhao Mingjian flooded the group chat with messages, brimming with excitement. Zhao Mingjian at everyone, guys, I can't believe it. I got into Linhai Elite Academy. Ranked 9,999 in potential, squeaking in by the skin of my teeth. Can you believe it? Linhe. Su Yun replied instantly, tone filled with envy. How does someone with grade B talent get into the Elite Academy? The world is unfair. Zhao Mingjian. But I'm in any way mad about it. Now we're not on the same level. Know your place. Behind his screen, Su Yun stared at the text, his mouth twitching. Already forgetting old friends this quickly? Zhao Mingjian said earnestly. Number 1 high school and the Elite Academy exist in entirely different leagues. Besides, why don't you mention Lu Sheng? He only has grade C talent too. At Lu Sheng, right, brother Lu. Since I made it in, you must have as well. What's your potential rank? Lu Sheng. Call me brother, and I'll tell you. Zhao Mingjian. Brother Lu, stop teasing us and spill the details. Lu Sheng. All I can say is I've been assigned to Class 1. Zhao Mingjian. Su Yun. Linhe. Ignoring their flood of follow-up questions, Lu Sheng smiled faintly and exited the group chat, leaving the three bombarding the conversation with messages. After spending so much time with Zhao Mingjian, he had slowly mastered the art of low-key showing off. Act, achieve your goal, then depart quietly, leaving your achievements unproclaimed. The next day, Lu Sheng boarded an air shuttle bound for the newly built Linhai Elite Academy in the city center. Following directions, he quickly located Class 1. Upon stepping through the doorway, he encountered a familiar face. Nangong Wenxue. She sat in the third row, beside a young girl with an oval face and a warm, cheerful smile. Lu Sheng entered through the main door, locking eyes with Nangong Wenxue as she looked up. Clear confusion crossed her features. The moment she laid eyes on Lu Sheng, countless questions filled her mind. Others might not know, but as his schoolmate, she understood. Even with third place in the competition, Lu Sheng only held grade C talent. Nearly every student in Class 1 boasted grade S or higher talent. Grade A talents were extremely rare here. Still, they attended the same former school. Nangong Wenxue nodded politely and greeted him calmly. You're here. I am. Lu Sheng pulled out a seat beside the wall in the fourth row and sat down. The girl beside Nangong Wenxue noticed their acquaintance and greeted him. Hi there. I'm Sister Shue's younger sister, Nangong Wenya. I look forward to getting to know you. Hello. I'm Lu Sheng. I attended the same school as your sister. Lu Sheng replied politely. Wow. So you're Lu Sheng. Grandfather spoke about you yesterday. Defeating students from number 3 and number 17 high schools, an ordinary person who fought his way to the top 3 in the city competition, an unparalleled genius. Hearing his name, Nangong Wenya grew instantly excited, showering him with praise. Her raised voice drew stares from multiple nearby classmates. Lu Sheng felt slightly embarrassed. Unlike Nangong Wenxue, who maintained a reserved demeanor, Nangong Wenya was lively and easy to converse with. Lu Sheng waved his hand modestly, yet a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Pure luck, nothing more. As he chatted with the two girls, more students filed into the classroom. When the clock struck 8, a stern-faced middle-aged man walked inside. Good morning, students. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Lei Wanjun. Starting today, I will serve as Class 1's homeroom teacher and oversee your coursework. As Lei Wanjun spoke, his gaze swept over every row. Faint divine pressure washed over the room, weighing heavily on each student. Several restless teens immediately sat up straight. Everyone, you are elite talents selected from thousands of candidates by numerous true gods of the Education Bureau. From now until university enrollment, all transactions you conduct within the Great Xia Marketplace will be exempt from transaction tax. This benefit is well-deserved. In addition, open your smart wristwatches and access your personal authority panels. The technological access permissions should now be active on your interfaces. War Simulator? Lu Sheng was stunned to spot a brand new permission option appearing on his personal access panel of the Cerebrum intelligence system out of nowhere. He had heard of this function before. Rumor claimed it was crafted by a high-ranking divine being of technology. The simulator could create an exact one-to-one replica of all subjects living within a god's divine realm inside a virtual battlefield for combat drills. Even if all the copied inhabitants perished within the virtual simulation, their real-world counterparts would suffer zero harm, making it an ideal tool to gauge the overall combat strength of any divine domain. Its only downside lay in its astronomical computing power consumption every single second the virtual battlefield stayed active, requiring swarms of high-level intelligent life forms to maintain steady operation around the clock. Lu Sheng never imagined the Municipal Education Bureau would be generous enough to grant students access to such privileged authority. Joy bloomed across every student's face in the classroom. Even powerful aristocratic clans could never get their hands on military-grade access to the war simulator under normal circumstances. From this day forward, every resource you obtain within this school shall be allocated around the war simulator. Higher rankings unlock greater resource rewards. Your strength is your only currency here. Mark my words. The moment you enrolled at Linhai Elite High School, your goals parted ways with ordinary students outside this campus. Building ecological circulation systems or engaging in risk investment are trivial skills that have long become commonplace knowledge. You have just one objective. Spare no effort to bolster the combat prowess of your divine realm's inhabitants. Our very first class today will consist of actual combat practice. With that, Lei Wanjun waved his hand. Surging divine power yanked the consciousness of all 100 students straight into the virtual battlefield for randomized opponent matching. Inside the virtual dimension, 100 streaks of light darted rapidly before colliding and merging in pairs until every student was successfully matched against a foe. This class-based virtual duel is purely meant to familiarize you with the war simulator and let you spar with your classmates. Results from this round will not factor into official war simulator assessment rankings. You are the most gifted youngsters across Linhai City. Show me what your real combat capabilities are capable of. Begin the battle. Lei Wanjuan's voice echoed through the void as Lu Sheng locked onto his opponent, a reserved young man with a crew cut. Hey man, my overall aptitude ranking sits at exactly 100. I barely scraped into Class 1 by the skin of my teeth. Go easy on me out there, alright? The boy begged the instant the match initiated. Linhai Elite High School ran 100 classes in total, each populated by 100 students sorted by comprehensive aptitude rankings. Ranking 100 theoretically made this young man the weakest student in Class 1. This score only measured raw potential, however. For all his top-tier aptitude rating, Lu Sheng suspected he would lose to nearly every classmate if judged purely by the fighting strength of his divine realm subjects. If anyone ought to fear being overwhelmed, it should be himself, not this nervous crew-cut student. Lu Sheng responded with silence, channeling his consciousness deep into his divine realm to summon his 40,000 most powerful subjects. His mind maintained a constant link between his divine domain and the virtual battlefield, transporting the 40,000 warriors' awareness into the simulation in an instant. Match confirmed. Virtual battlefield generating. Generation complete. Random battlefield terrain boundless green grassland. Both sides receive a 60-second preparation window. Combat will commence automatically once the countdown concludes. 59, 58, 57. As the timer ticked down, Lu Sheng's 40,000-strong army materialized across the lush meadow. His forces included 31 Golden Core cultivators, 451 martial spirit warriors, more than 130,000 martial master and foundation establishment practitioners, with the remainder consisting of late-stage Tier 1 creatures. Though merely 3 or 4 days had passed since the city-wide tournament, the overall strength of Lu Sheng's divine realm had undergone earth-shaking improvements. Every subject who survived the life or death tournament battles emerged free of lingering wounds thanks to passive traits such as berserk physique, vigor of the aged, and rapid regeneration. Each survivor had broken through to vastly superior power tiers after returning home. Coupled with the elemental divine tree and 9-story alchemy tower erected within his realm, resources were now in abundant supply. Every inhabitant received a body-cleansing pill and a drop of spirit nectar upon reaching maturity. If Lu Sheng reattempted his earlier assault on the Goblin Divine Realm from the tournament, his offensive advance would be at least 10 times faster now. Yet Lu Sheng's mood sank the second he laid eyes on his rival's army formation. His opponent fielded 100,000 elves, 1,000 Tier 3 Elite elves alongside 99,000 Tier 2 rank and file elves, every single one outfitted with Grade C armor and weaponry. The equipment alone carried a total value exceeding 1 billion faith points. By contrast, only Lu Sheng's Golden Core cultivators wielded Grade C weaponry. His Tier 2 soldiers fought with Grade D and E gear, while most Tier 1 troops were stuck with low-grade Grade F arms. When comparing the raw individual power of his subjects bolstered by dozens of powerful inherent traits, Lu Sheng was confident he could overpower the elves despite their superior racial bloodline. Their high-grade equipment flipped the scales completely. Even with the armor-piercing trait active, his Tier 1 soldiers armed with Grade F weapons could barely breach the defenses of Grade C elven armor. The crew-cut student also picked up on the mismatch, figuring his opponent was another bottom-tier student ranked in the 90s. Believing he faced an easy victory, all his earlier timidity vanished. He waved his arms sharply and shouted, "My followers, wipe out these intruders." Lu Sheng issued his own divine command without hesitation. Attack. The two armies charged toward each other across the vast grassland, with ranged units striking first. All archers, fire freely. 50,000 griffin riders swarmed forward like a dark storm cloud, unleashing dense volleys of arrows. The perfect marksmanship trait guaranteed nearly every shot struck its intended target. His foes were no mindless goblins incapable of aerial countermeasures. However, elves were a race renowned for their unmatched archery prowess. Thousands of elven warriors raised Grade C shields to form an impenetrable defensive phalanx, shielding the archers positioned in the rear ranks. Bang, bang, bang. Thousands of incoming arrows slew over 1,000 Tier 2 elven soldiers. Yet the elven battle formation operated at a minimum mature level, with fresh warriors immediately filling every fallen comrade's position. Elven archers in the back rows drew their bows next, coating their arrows in surging magical energy. The enchanted projectiles rocketed skyward at terrifying speeds, inflicting heavy casualties across Lu Sheng's Griffin Rider Corps. The opening exchange ended in a stalemate for both sides. Boom. After several rounds of arrow fire, Lu Sheng's ground troops closed in. Led by hundreds of Tier 3 warriors, the front 50,000 soldiers formed the Black Tortoise formation to absorb the initial elven charge. Two flanking divisions of 100,000 soldiers each then activated the White Tiger formation to launch a pincer assault from the sides. The crew-cut student was forced to redeploy portions of his elven army to counter the flanking strikes. Every tactical adjustment he made was instantly met with a corresponding counter formation from Lu Sheng's troops. Are you kidding me? How many military manuals have you studied? Your formation shifts are instantaneous and flawlessly coordinated. The student roared in frustration. Every tactical maneuver he devised was neutralized before it could take effect. All his strength was wasted against an impenetrable defensive framework, leaving him completely powerless to turn the tide of battle. Worse still, the berserk physique buff activated as combat dragged on. Lu Sheng's human soldiers grew stronger with every clash, their morale soaring steadily. The 1,000 Tier 3 elven warriors were gradually suppressed by just 500 to 600 Tier 3 human fighters. Once the elven frontline formation crumbled, the elves had nowhere to take cover across the open plain. Griffin riders swooped down from above to deliver devastating aerial strikes, wiping out the entire elven army in short order. Lu Sheng lost less than half his total forces to secure the win. Battle concluded. Victory belongs to Lu Sheng. Announced by the simulation's automated intelligence, the virtual grassland shattered into motes of light. The consciousness of Lu Sheng's surviving subjects returned safely to their divine realm, experiencing the brutal fight as nothing more than a vivid dream with no physical repercussions for their real bodies. Is this really the full strength of Class 1? Lu Sheng's earlier frustrations faded entirely with his first win, filling him with renewed confidence as he queued for another match. New opponent matched. Battlefield terrain, frigid frostwood. Countdown begins at 59:58. Snow and ice blanketed the landscape as two armies spawned on opposite edges of the frozen woodland. Lu Sheng froze the moment he fully processed the enemy lineup. One nascent soul true lord, 3,000 golden core cultivators, 100,000 foundation establishment practitioners. Every single soldier is a formal cultivator. This cannot be real. Unsurprisingly, Lu Sheng's army was steamrolled without resistance. Though numerically smaller, the enemy cultivator army consisted of elite veterans clad head-to-toe in premium battle gear, united under the formidable Four Immortal Swords formation, an advanced offensive array. centered around the nascent Soul True Lord with the 3,000 golden core cultivators serving as formation anchors. The sword formation unleashed overwhelming destructive power. Lu Sheng's 50,000 griffin riders were sliced to shreds within mere breaths amid swirling sword light and blade chi. His 40,000 ground troops collapsed the instant the sword formation unleashed its collective strike. Crushing raw power left zero room for Lu Sheng to implement any layered tactics, with his battle lines torn apart at every weak point before his formations could fully activate. Blood stained the silvery frozen ground crimson across the battlefield. Lu Sheng learned his opponent's name during the battle, Long Outyin. How did he amass such a massive army of cultivators? Does his innate talent boost his subjects' spiritual root aptitudes? Lu Sheng muttered to himself. The spiritual energy concentration inside his own small realm was over 10 times higher than average, yet less than 1% of his inhabitants naturally possessed usable spiritual roots for cultivation. Long Outyin fielded over 100,000 cultivators with apparent ease, an utterly staggering feat. Raw talent alone could never produce such results. Long Outyin must have constructed countless high-tier buildings and prioritized boosting his subjects' strength from the very moment he forged his divine realm. While ordinary students busied themselves stabilizing small world ecosystems and earning faith points through investments, direct bloodline heirs from prominent aristocratic clans faced none of these trivial burdens. If ecosystem collapse caused food shortages for their subjects, they simply purchased mass supplies directly from the system marketplace. Others followed Lu Sheng's approach, stacking dozens of Grade B wine feast complexes to offset low ambient spiritual energy levels. If their subjects possessed mediocre natural aptitudes, vast family funding allowed every newborn to soak in medicinal baths from birth, with body-cleansing pills distributed like candy. Generations of this targeted refinement drastically elevated the overall quality of their population. They bought pills, weapons, and endless resources to remedy every deficiency within their subjects, dedicating their people's entire lives solely to cultivation. Every decision revolved around raising combat strength. 3 months had passed since Lu Sheng first established his divine realm, yet most students wasted the majority of their time on menial administrative chores rather than military advancement. Lu Sheng himself had lost precious time managing medicinal crop cultivation and livestock breeding before hiring professional realm planners to restructure his domain. Patience is a virtue. Lu Sheng refused to be discouraged. Following comprehensive structural planning, his divine realm had entered a golden era of rapid development, with its overall power surging with each passing day. Even if he never unlocked another powerful trait from his Lord of Inscriptions talent, he was certain he could close the gap with the top-tier students within a single month. Cue another match. He expected more crushing defeats ahead, yet every battle granted valuable insight into the general skill ceiling of his Class 1 peers. Since simulated deaths bore no real consequences for his subjects, the learning experience alone justified each loss. Millions of Tier 1 goblins, goblin giants, goblin high priests, what in the world? Lava goblins and dragon blood goblins too. How many mutated bloodlines has Nangong Wenshua engineered? He even commands demon-type units, whose curses weaken entire enemy formations across large areas. I'll need to prepare countermeasures for such abilities moving forward. A mechanical god whose subjects are fully sentient mechanical life forms armed with cutting-edge technological weaponry. Fighting this type of opponent would spell disaster for anyone lacking relevant combat experience. As predicted, Lu Sheng failed every subsequent match after his victory against the crew-cut student, most ending in total annihilation with no viable counterplay. Still, he gained invaluable battlefield experience from each defeat, sharpening his ability to deploy flexible battle strategies significantly. Once his overall strength matched these opponents in the future, these refined tactical skills would prove decisive in turning fights in his favor. Everyone, withdraw from the simulation. The practical combat lesson drew to a close as Lei Wanjuan's voice pulled every student's consciousness back into their physical bodies inside the classroom. Students exchanged glances with one another. The tense unfamiliarity between classmates softened noticeably after the shared virtual skirmishes. Lei Wanjun tapped his desk atop the podium to regain everyone's attention. Today's combat drill is merely the starting point. Every future lesson in this class will be tailored to improve the combat capabilities of your divine realm inhabitants from all angles. The full college entrance exam totals 1,000 points. Ignore the 100 theoretical points for now. The 300 points allocated to divine realm prosperity seem to evaluate the ecological health of your pocket dimensions, Yet this metric is intrinsically tied to your military strength. A realm with weak subjects cannot truly be classified as prosperous. Additionally, you may earn direct admission into top-tier universities if you ascend to demigod status before the National College Entrance Exam, or secure a ranking within the provincial top 100 in the War Simulator leaderboards. Teacher, is it actually possible for a high school student to reach demigod rank? One student voiced his disbelief. Heh, the world is far larger and more wondrous than you can fathom. Lei Wanjun smiled faintly. You may consider yourselves talented within Linhai City's borders, but countless peerless geniuses exist across the broader regional landscape. Silence settled over the classroom. The higher one climbed the ladder of power, the smaller one felt in the grand scheme of things. Each student had stood unrivaled at their respective middle schools, only to discover an endless pool of equally gifted peers upon entering the elite academy. That did not even account for prodigies from neighboring cities and the monstrous talents hailing from the provincial capital. Reaching demigod status. Lu Sheng lowered his head in contemplation. 3 strict prerequisites must be fulfilled to transcend into demigodhood within this world. First, spawn Tier 5 life forms within your divine realm. Second, accumulate a daily faith point income exceeding 1 million units. Third, comprehend a sliver of fundamental universal law. Upon ascending to demigod, a god could directly intervene within their divine domain by wielding law energy, drastically boosting both realm development efficiency and battlefield combat performance. Lu Sheng was confident he could satisfy the first 2 requirements with time, yet grasping the elusive concept of universal law remained completely incomprehensible to him to this day. That will conclude today's lesson. You are free to review the War Simulator functions and climb its rankings after class. The school distributes resources monthly based on simulator leaderboard standings. As a specially sanctioned institution under the Municipal Education Bureau, Linhai Elite High School provides strategic class rewards with every distribution. Do not squander this opportunity. As the bell rang for dismissal, Lu Sheng stood to leave when a handsome boy sitting in the front row stood up to address the whole class. Fellow students, we are all the cream of Linhai's youth gathered together in this single class, which is no small stroke of fate. I am Feng Qingyang, and I have set up a class group chat. We can share developmental experience and support one another through challenges within the group. Different tiers of strength inevitably form distinct social circles. This truth applied to his old Class 31 group chat back in senior high. The Hall of the Gods Forum used to coordinate raids on the toxic barrier world, and now this new group chat alike. Before the city-wide tournament, true god descendants like Zhao Mingjian possessed far more insider knowledge than Lu Sheng, their advice and experience offering tremendous benefits during his early realm development phase. Now, after hiring professional realm planners and seeing his faith revenue surge by millions of points regularly, nearly all discussion topics circulating in those older group chats held no practical value for him whatsoever. He had become the primary contributor, sharing useful insights in those communities instead. I'll join. Lu Sheng nodded, recognizing the value of expanding his perspective through a new peer network. Count me in, Brother Feng. I was just hoping someone would create a class group chat. Sign me up too. We'd be rude to turn down your offer, Brother Feng. Nearly every student in the classroom opted to join the chat, motivated either by a desire to fit in socially or out of respect for Feng Qingyang's status as a direct heir of the powerful Feng clan. Long, would you care to join us as well? Feng Qingyang gestured toward the boy seated by the far back window, raising his smart wristwatch in invitation. Long Outyin only quietly packed up his school supplies without lifting his gaze. Predatory beasts walk alone. Only herd animals travel in packs. You are nothing more than a disordered mob. What meaningful purpose could your collective gathering possibly serve? His tone remained flat and emotionless, as if stating an objective fact, openly dismissing every student present in the room. An awkward hush instantly blanketed the classroom. Feng Qingyang froze mid-gesture, his facial expression darkening visibly. As the top representative of the Long clan within Linhai City's current youth generation, Feng Qingyang had long heard tales of Long Outyin's arrogant disposition. He had hoped these rumors were exaggerated, only to witness the man's haughty attitude firsthand. What's his problem? He only ranked first in the citywide exam, by sheer luck anyway. A student immediately voiced his irritation. Exactly, such conceit is unwarranted if his actual strength cannot match his overinflated ego. I lost to him in the virtual battle this round, but I won't stay defeated forever. Just wait and see. Do members of the Long clan lack basic social decency? If he's truly that exceptional, why is he assigned to the same class as the rest of us? Every student in Class 1, Lu Sheng excluded, originated from Linhai's most influential clans and had been revered as geniuses their entire lives, nurturing strong personal pride. None of them feared Long Outyin despite his dominant performance in the simulation matches, firing back at his condescending remarks without hesitation. Tension spiked sharply across the classroom. Lu Sheng, who had already stepped halfway out the doorway, halted his footsteps and turned back to observe the confrontation with curiosity. Feng Qingyang spoke with a stern expression. Long, we are all classmates here. Enough. Long Outyin cut him off mid-sentence. You occupy this classroom because this space aligns with your maximum potential. I am here solely because this school is the finest institution Linhai City has to offer. As for those I have defeated, he let out a cold huff. I have never regarded any of you as legitimate rivals. I will grant you time to chase progress, until you can no longer catch so much as a glimpse of my back. Stunned murmurs rippled through the room, and even Lu Sheng lingering by the door was shocked by the sheer level of arrogance. His self-confidence bordered on unrestrained hubris. It was clear Long Outyin sincerely viewed all his classmates as insignificant obstacles beneath his notice. Excuse me. Ignoring the collective shock of the group, Long Outyin walked past the crowd and brushed directly beside Lu Sheng on his way out of the classroom. Several long seconds passed before someone broke the stifling silence. This young man is far too presumptuous and arrogant. Feng Qingyang shook his head, regretting extending the invitation in the first place. Pay him no mind, Brother Feng. He only holds a temporary lead thanks to his natural talent and clan resources. I have family members employed within this academy who mention many upper-level courses require coordinated team collaboration. No one will partner with him when those assignments roll around, and he will face unnecessary hardships on his own. A student crossed his arms and scoffed. Divine Realm development relies on far more than just battlefield combat prowess. His complete disregard for interpersonal communication will limit his growth. This arrogant streak will only benefit us in the long run. Author's note: this chapter has just been released. If you enjoyed the content, kindly leave a positive review to support the novel's rating. Feng Qingyang nodded slightly. Forget about him. The class has plenty of students. One missing person makes no real difference. Let's carry on our conversation in the group chat. Originally, the group had planned a gathering at Heavenly Paradise to bond with one another, but Long Outyin's disruption had sapped everyone's mood. The students headed home separately. Night fell in the Shangping Shujia residential compound. Upon returning home, Lu Sheng did not immediately log into the war simulator to compete in the ranked battles. Instead, he sank his consciousness into his miniature world to observe the development of his people. Given his current strength, he stood little chance of claiming high rankings in the simulator anyway. Rewards were distributed according to end-of-month leaderboard standings, so there was no rush to compete right away. Yu Zhou and Mulan's child has been born. Shortly after he began his observation, Lu Sheng spotted an exceptionally handsome infant cradled in Mulan's arms within the city lord's manor. He quickly pulled up the newborn's personal profile. Tribesman, Yu Xiaoman race, human gender, male age, 1-year-old spiritual root, ice variant spiritual root cultivation arts, none cultivation realm, none innate talent. Photographic memory possesses unparalleled memory. Every text studied in detail is permanently retained root bone rank. Mystic, an ice variant spiritual root comparable to a top-tier heavenly spiritual root. Joy surged through Lu Sheng's heart. After years of nourishment under a dozen-fold surge in spiritual energy, an increasing number of residents in his divine realm had awakened spiritual roots. Even so, the vast majority only possessed defective or pseudo-spiritual roots. People with dual or triple spiritual roots accounted for less than 1 in 1,000, and not a single inhabitant had ever manifested a heavenly spiritual root. For reference, Mulan only had 3 standard spiritual roots. Yet, bolstered by the high concentration spiritual energy alongside her peerless insight and innate brilliance traits, she had reached the second layer of the Golden Core realm at merely 55 years of age. In standard Xinxia novels, such progress would outshine most protagonists. Now her child bore a variant spiritual root with cultivation speeds matching heavenly spiritual roots. His cultivation progress would be staggering. If he practiced ice-aligned cultivation techniques, his advancement would accelerate even further, putting the nascent soul realm well within his reach. The only cultivation scripture available right now is the water-attributed Cloud Sea Immortal Record. Our cultivation resources are far too one-sided, Lu Sheng muttered thoughtfully. His divine realm was now stable and self-sustaining, freeing up excess resources to boost the overall strength of his people. He activated his smart wristband and began browsing the system shop. Grade B Cultivation Art. Art of Prosperity and Longevity Attribute. Wood description. Plants wither and bloom with the turning of seasons, reviving endlessly with spring winds. The practice is divided into 4 milestone thresholds spanning decades, centuries, millennia, and 10,000 years. Longer cultivation tenure amplifies its life-prolonging effects. Channeled mana can revitalize dead vegetation and mend bodily injuries and ailments. Price: 120 million faith points. Grade B Cultivation Art. Northern Dark Ice Soul Art Attribute. Ice description. This technique calms the mind, tempers the soul, and condenses primordial nether ice energy, capable of freezing and subduing spirits. When mastered to perfection, practitioners forge the Northern Dark Ice Soul physique, able to freeze thousands of miles of landscape with a single thought. Price: 170 million faith points. Grade B Cultivation Art. Earth Stabilizing Art. Price: 100 million faith points. Grade B Cultivation Art. Blazing Flame Incantation. Price: 100 million faith points. Grade B Cultivation Art. Mixed Metal Formula. After purchasing these 5 Grade B cultivation arts alongside 15 Grade C library buildings, Lu Sheng's faith point reserves were nearly drained, leaving him with less than 1 billion faith points remaining. He deployed the 15 libraries around his 3 newly constructed cities and uploaded all the newly acquired cultivation arts into these facilities before issuing a universal divine edict. My people, I have bestowed cultivation arts aligned with metal, wood, fire, earth, and ice attributes. You may visit the libraries to select your preferred practice methods. Upon hearing the divine proclamation, residents across the 4 cities flocked to the libraries to switch over to these new arts. Thanks to the universal insight trait, every cultivator adapted to the new techniques with smooth ease. Most of his population had previously practiced only Cloud Sea Immortal Record, despite very few of them possessing innate water spiritual roots. Matching themselves to arts suited for their elemental affinities would undoubtedly push their cultivation speeds to new heights. In the days that followed, Lu Sheng attended school daily, participating in varied practical training sessions ranging from formation competitions to team-based duels, with Lei Wanjun providing professional guidance after each exercise. Though he still lost most of his matches, his subjects within the miniature world rapidly accumulated combat experience against myriad foreign races. A week slipped by in the blink of an eye. 100 years had passed inside the miniature world. The Divine Realm's population exceeded 1.7 million, and 3 new cities matching the scale of Blackstone City had been fully built. Centered around the elemental divine tree, White Deer City stood to the west, Sky Ruin City to the east, and Blaze City to the north. Even with these new settlements, Blackstone City remained a core homeland of the human population. The vigor and old age trait ensured that the elderly survivors of past wars had evolved into the most powerful combatants across all 4 cities. The scars of the Divine Realm's ancient wars had shaped every subsequent generation of humans over the past decade. Quite a number of cultivators had even surpassed Yu Zhou in cultivation level, yet his standing as a leader remained unchallenged, with no citizen daring to question his authority. Exploration into the Poison Mist world also proceeded steadily. Large contingents of Spirit Warrior and Golden Core cultivators swept away all hostile abominations with overwhelming force. Human armies harvested resources from this wild territory on a massive scale, much like locusts gathering nourishment across the land. In just 10 days of exploration, they unearthed spiritual plants valued at 3.1 billion faith points alongside 2 naturally occurring spirit herb gardens. With this haul, the development and exploitation of the Poison Mist world was officially completed. Meanwhile, 1 million iron sea vine plants had fully matured. Lu Sheng sold the entire harvest together with 1 million Grade F weapons and 50,000 Grade E forged armaments. As an elite student eligible for tax exemptions, this transaction netted him 2.6 billion faith points. Additional revenue came from surplus refined elixirs worth 500 million faith points, plus 100,000 drops of spirit stone nectar harvested from 401 stone milk bamboo clusters over a decade, accelerated by 20-fold time dilation. Combined income from spiritual flora and medicinal pills reached 1.5 billion faith points. Total earnings, 7.2 billion faith points. I severely underestimated my own earning potential. My divine realm generates well over 10 billion faith points every single month, Lu Sheng thought excitedly. He immediately spent 5 billion faith points to purchase 5 million iron sea vine saplings, planting them throughout the coastal waters to cover most of the sea area. This represented a stable long-term revenue stream. Boosted by the tenfold growth multiplier from the All Living Things Flourish trait, supplementary minor passive buffs, and the region's dense spiritual energy concentration, the vegetation grew far faster than the baseline tenfold acceleration rate. From then on, every 7 to 8 days would bring him a new harvest of spiritual plants worth 5 billion faith points. The operation required no land allocation nor manpower from his people, making it an exceptionally profitable investment in his eyes. He placed the 2 captured spirit herb gardens within White Deer City and Sky Ruin City, then invested another 1.6 billion faith points to fill both gardens with stone milk bamboo seedlings. Once the bamboo matured in 4 to 5 years, his monthly income from botanical resources would surge by an additional 6 billion faith points. Current faith point balance, 600 million. Elsewhere within the miniature world, stone construct laborers had finished constructing a grand canal running east to west to connect White Deer City and Sky Ruin City, delivering stable freshwater supplies to the entire human territory. Inside the miniature world, a deafening crash echoed out. Another stone construct collapsed mid-transport duty, shattering on impact into 5 smaller stone golems, each 1/5 the original size. The newly formed small stone golems had barely awakened when supervisors struck their rocky flesh with tempered iron whips forged for labor discipline. A sharp crack carved deep marks across their stone exteriors. As if reawakening ingrained instinct, the tiny stone figures scrambled upward at once to resume their unfinished hauling work. Countless stone constructs perished during the canal construction project, breaking down into smaller stone golems upon destruction. These secondary stone golems would disintegrate into inert stone dust upon their second demise. Lu Sheng paid no heed to these losses. Replacements could always be purchased with faith points. Even if all tens of thousands of these stone laborers were wiped out, his current wealth allowed him to replenish their numbers instantly. For the time being, Lu Sheng's primary focus remained raising the overall strength of his mortal subjects. The 103rd year of the miniature world's timeline arrived. After drawing nothing but low-grade E/F tier passive traits and several useless incompatible buffs for 12 consecutive years, Lu Sheng finally received a game-changing reward. X-tier trait Lord passive active. Innate talents refreshed. New trait unlocked, S-tier trait. Divine Formation Mastery, Divine Formation Mastery. Your people gain a tenfold increase in learning speed, comprehension, deduction, creation, and cultivation efficiency for all formation-related arts. Finally, a worthwhile buff. Lu Sheng nearly sighed in relief. The traits rolled out over the previous weeks were either low-rank E/F buffs with negligible benefits or effects incompatible with his human population, such as the S-tier River Styx domain, which only granted bonuses to undead entities. A high trait tier did not always equal practical value. The trait had to align with the environment and inhabitants of his miniature world to prove useful. Likely empowered by Divine Formation Mastery, Lu Sheng's subjects pushed 4-grade E formations to full mastery the very next day during his school lessons, catching rival students completely off guard in practical drills. When class ended that afternoon, Lei Wanjun did not leave immediately and summoned Lu Sheng to his office. The moment Lu Sheng stepped inside, he sensed several invisible gazes sweeping over his body, studying him as if examining some rare exotic artifact. Yet no matter how hard he focused his perception, he could not discern their facial features whatsoever. True gods, multiple true gods had gathered here all at once. Why have so many true gods appeared out of nowhere? Every single one exudes a stronger aura than Su Zhong. What is this about? Lu Sheng swallowed hard, anxiety prickling through his mind. These notoriously reclusive supreme beings had assembled specifically to meet with him, leaving his thoughts racing with speculation. Do not be alarmed, young Lu. We harbor no malicious intent. A female deity with an indiscernible face spoke to ease his tension. We only wish to ask you a few questions today. Questions? Lu Sheng's expression shifted slightly. He instantly surmised these true gods had come to investigate his hidden innate talents. He could think of no other aspect of himself worthy of the collective attention of multiple true god-level beings. Having prepared for this scenario long in advance, he maintained his composure and bowed respectfully. Please feel free to ask anything, seniors. I will answer truthfully to the best of my knowledge. Very well. The female deity nodded and spoke plainly. After reviewing your tournament assessment footage from the municipal competition, cross-referencing your classroom performance over these days, and analyzing your historical records through official databases, We have confirmed that you awakened a latent hidden talent following your official aptitude awakening ceremony. This is official documentation issued by the Great Xia Bureau of Education. You may review it. A glowing holographic screen materialized before Lu Sheng the instant she finished speaking. Citizen Lu Sheng of Great Xia, baseline registered talent, Grade C fertile homelands. Advanced fifth-order administrative AI simulations calculate a 99.9% probability that you have subsequently awakened a hidden talent, most likely tied to elevating environmental spiritual energy density and accelerating organic growth. Provisional talent ranking, Grade S. Per the Great Xia Prodigy Protection Code, all personal data linked to citizen Lu Sheng has been placed under top secret file encryption. Lu Sheng's heart tightened sharply as he read the document, his breathing slowing involuntarily. He had not anticipated the computational power of administrative artificial intelligence being precise enough to pinpoint the core functions of his most critical passive traits solely from observational data collected during his examinations. He had originally planned to only disclose a single Grade S talent, yet the situation was spiraling beyond his initial expectations. Young Lu, we have come personally to evaluate your hidden divine realm talent for formal classification and rating, the female deity explained. You may not be aware of the Great Xia National Prodigy Initiative. Every citizen who awakens a talent ranked Grade S or higher is enrolled into this official program. The state provides targeted financial support and ongoing protective monitoring to prevent premature casualties among exceptional talents. Hidden talent evaluation? Precisely. Hidden talents are named for their inherent concealment properties. Awakening pillars cannot detect them unless consciously activated. And even after activation, their effects can only be inferred through high-level artificial intelligence analysis. You must have noticed drastic surges in spiritual energy within your miniature world starting at a certain point, with energy density rising steadily ever since. The growth rate of all plant life in your realm also spiked dramatically around that same time frame, correct? The female deity stated this with absolute certainty. That marks the moment your hidden talent awakened. Her assessment was technically accurate, though the phenomenon stemmed from the combined effects of three separate traits: tenfold spiritual energy amplification, spiritual energy resurgence, and all living things flourish. No outside force could possibly guess that Lu Sheng possessed nearly 100 stacked hidden traits at this stage. What do I need to do for the evaluation? Lu Sheng asked calmly. Administrative AI previously only made deductions based on fragmented historical data, which is insufficient to fully map your talent's parameters. We have brought a dedicated fifth-order analytical AI unit for this assessment. You only need to grant temporary access permissions to your divine realm to allow the AI to conduct a full-dimensional scan. The female deity waved her hand, and a silvery spherical machine roughly the size of a basketball floated into the air, fitted with a glowing diamond-shaped optical sensor at its core. The mechanical lens rotated once before locking onto Lu Sheng, bathing his body in soft pale white radiance. A powerful sense of being thoroughly probed washed over Lu Sheng immediately. System log. An unknown transcendent is scanning your world. System log. Realm access permissions granted by host. Lu Sheng approved the access request. The spherical AI hovered above his divine realm, circling the entire miniature world at near teleportation speeds within a handful of breaths before commencing its data report. Recording atmospheric composition, cross-referencing spiritual energy metrics, scanning global biological ecosystems. Full dataset acquired. Initiating comparison against the National Master Database. Scan complete. Citizen Lu Sheng of Great Xia. Baseline talent Grade C fertile homelands. Detected hidden talent classified as Grade SS spiritual energy resurgence. Assigned prodigy tier, Grade B secondary rank. Spiritual energy resurgence verified effects. Multiplies miniature world's spiritual energy by tenfold with incremental annual density growth, improves global environmental conditions, and accelerates the maturation cycle of all organic life forms. Lu Sheng breathed a quiet sigh of relief once the AI finished its analysis. Revealing a single Grade SS talent was manageable and would not draw excessive sensational attention toward him. Conversely, the true gods gathered in the office lost their composure the second the evaluation result was announced. A Grade SS talent with secondary tier prodigy standing. Though their faces remained obscured, Lu Sheng could clearly sense their palpable shock. What does a secondary tier prodigy ranking entail exactly? Lu Sheng queried. Most students are unfamiliar with the grading framework of our National Prodigy Initiative. The system is split into 4 tiers, primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. Throughout the recorded history of Jiangnan province, fewer than 10 individuals have ever obtained a secondary tier rating. The female deity replied with audible excitement. Within your own class, only Long Outyin qualified as a tertiary tier prodigy among grade S talent holders. Every other gifted student falls under the lowest quaternary tier classification, added a towering male deity with a tone of amazement. We originally estimated your ceiling to be tertiary tier at best. This outcome is a pleasant surprise. Prodigies granted secondary tier rankings were virtually guaranteed to ascend to fourth-order true god status within 1,000 years barring fatal misfortune. Such powerful entities formed the core backbone of Great Xia, tasked with conquering and developing boundless new territories for the nation. Discovering a secondary tier prodigy meant substantial official rewards for the evaluating true gods themselves. Young one, per official regulations following your secondary tier certification, you may select 3 rewards from the listed secondary tier prize pool. The male deity gestured outward, triggering dozens of holographic reward panels to materialize all around them. World Wonder, Creation Immortal Pawn Valuation, 100 billion Faith Points. World Wonder, Yellow Spring Body Tempering Pawn Valuation, 130 billion Faith Points. Grade B Black Tortoise Crystal Vein Valuation, 300 billion Faith Points. Grade A Permanent Structure. Ancestral Dragon Nest Valuation, 195 billion Faith Points. World Wonder, Active Volcanic Vent Valuation, 130 billion Faith Points. Grade A Permanent Structure. Mechanical Core Valuation, 90 billion Faith Points. World Wonder, Penglai Immortal Realm Valuation, 1,600 billion Faith Points. Even with his current impressive Faith Point income rate, Lu Sheng's throat went dry reading the items listed on the panels. The reward catalog contained well over 100 entries, each valued at upwards of 100 billion Faith Points. All were top-tier strategic assets locked behind access permissions unobtainable for low-level pseudo-gods like himself within the standard system shop. And he was permitted to claim 3 of these priceless treasures in total. Only now did Lu Sheng truly grasp the true value of a second-tier heavenly chosen. Senior, may I examine the list closely? Lu Sheng asked cautiously. The list featured countless structures, each boasting formidable functions. He needed ample time to weigh his options carefully. By all means, you are entitled to do so, the female deity replied in a gentle tone. The mist veiling her face had faded without him noticing, revealing an elegant visage brimming with intellectual grace. She smiled softly at Lu Sheng. Thank you, Senior. Lu Sheng bowed his gratitude before immediately poring over the details of every structure, swiftly memorizing their respective strengths and weaknesses. As his divine kingdom grew stronger, his memory, physical fitness, and all other bodily faculties had undergone comprehensive enhancement. Committing this information to mind was no difficult feat. After finishing his review, he first eliminated structures incompatible with human development, then sorted and filtered the remaining ones according to their practical uses and suitability. An hour later, Lu Sheng drew a deep breath and finalized his decision. Senior, I choose the Black Tortoise Crystal Vein, the Yellow Springs Tempering Pool, and Penglai Wonderland. The female deity nodded and waved her hand. 3 gilded cards materialized out of thin air, floating toward Lu Sheng as if guided by an inbuilt navigation system before settling neatly into his palms. As a second-tier heavenly chosen of Great Xia, your personal records have been sealed under top-secret files to shield you from assassinations by foreign deities. No personnel lacking sufficient clearance can access your identity information. Furthermore, these 3 structures are far more valuable than their official appraisals suggest. Their power is enough to stir longing even among true gods. Never disclose their existence to outsiders casually. Though you are protected by Great Xia's divine laws, some desperate forces may still risk severe punishment to target you. I understand fully, Senior. Lu Sheng stared at the cards in his hands, unable to suppress the surge of excitement welling up inside him no matter how hard he tried to calm himself. One card was pale cyan, etched with an upside-down pure white mountain, suspended above colorful mist clouds, streams of immortal essence gushing endlessly from its summit in a breathtaking spectacle. The second bore a dark golden surface, depicting a churning blood pool bubbling with golden mist, ancient runes faintly glowing across the pool bed. The last card was pitch black, showcasing thick, robust black tortoise crystals the size of adult males, shimmering with faint black luminescence. Wonder, Penglai Wonderland. Description: a fragmented remnant of a fallen immortal realm that sustains an internal self-circulating immortal essence system. continuously emanating pure immortal energy to upgrade the world's environmental quality. Effect 1. Constantly elevates the grade of worldly spiritual energy and raises the upper limit of the global environment. It siphons impurities and toxic haze from the world and refines them into pristine immortal essence. Effect 2. Immense immortal energy shrouds Ponlai Wonderland, saturated with fragments of universal Tao laws. Cultivators within this territory gain a 100 boost in insight and cultivation speed. While the difficulty of breaking through cultivation bottlenecks is halved, it passively improves the physical constitution and extends the lifespan of all subjects residing nearby. Effect 3. Auspicious immortal rain forms randomly within a 10,000 li radius of the Wonderland. The rain accelerates crop maturation, heals wounds and illnesses, awakens latent potential in all living things, and universally raises the intelligence of mortal and magical creatures alike. Effect 4. Concentrated nectar and jade dew gather within the Wonderland, drastically improving spiritual root aptitudes and speeding up immortal cultivators' absorption efficiency of spiritual energy. Wonder, Yellow Springs Tempering Pool. Description: formed by condensed yellow springs aura left behind by countless mighty beings upon their demise. Inscribed with yin-yang runes. The pool holds the power of karmic rebirth and nirvana. Effect 1. Any living being submerged within the pool can be resurrected from the brink of death, have shattered bones mended, severed limbs regenerated. As long as a trace of life remains, the pool will fully restore the injured party to perfect health. Effect 2. Prolonged immersion steadily toughens the body's outer membrane, upgrades physical aptitude, fortifies the internal organs, shatters bodily limits, and vastly amplifies physical prowess. Effect 3. Practicing martial arts within the pool grants a 100 increase in cultivation speed and comprehension rate, making it far easier for martial practitioners to break through entrenched bottlenecks. Effect 4. Regular monthly immersion raises the probability of awakening innate physical talents by 500. Lu Sheng had handpicked these two wonders to create a balanced system for his miniature world, supporting immortal cultivators and martial artists equally. His reason for selecting the black tortoise crystal vein was simple. He was severely lacking high-grade weaponry. Currently, his miniature world only possessed a grade E refined iron vein, whose or could merely forge grade E weaponry, far too weak to match the growing strength of his subjects. During sparring matches with nearly every student in Class 1 of the Elite Academy, he had never seen anyone wield weapons lower than grade C. In contrast, he himself was still armed with grade E and even grade F equipment, leaving a massive gap between himself and his peers. With the grade B black tortoise crystal vein, he could craft grade B weapons and armor independently. The iron arrows used by his Griffin Knight regiment would be upgraded to black tortoise crystal arrows infused with the armor-piercing property, capable of penetrating the defenses of Tier 3 and Tier 4 monsters with ease. With these three structures under my control, I will undoubtedly surpass all of them. Bold resolve blazed in Lu Sheng's heart. Our mission is complete now that the rewards have been delivered. Fellow Taoist Lu, this is my contact mark. You may leave messages for me should you encounter any problems in the future. The female deity flicked her wrist, and Lu Sheng's smart wristband instantly displayed her profile. Li Muxue, a Tier 3 true god governing Jiangnan province. I am deeply grateful, Senior. Lu Sheng cherished this goodwill from a true god, a rare and precious opportunity. He knew this favor stemmed from his status as a second-tier heavenly chosen. Though he was merely a pseudo-god at present, his boundless future potential made him worthy of her attention. Upon returning home, he immediately deployed the two wonders into his divine kingdom. A deafening rumble echoed as the resplendent Ponlai Wonderland descended upon the empty lands of his realm. The sacred mountain sank its roots into the ground, greedily drawing in ambient spiritual energy and terrestrial ley line power, while exhaling far purer, higher-grade spiritual energy outward in endless surges. The overall vitality of the miniature world surged to an entirely new tier in an instant. New mountain ranges and river systems materialized, and the placement of this wonder even expanded the overall landmass of his world. Immortal energy billowed across Ponlai Wonderland amid glowing rosy halos. Drawn by the tremendous commotion, countless subjects gazed toward the sacred mountain and were instantly captivated by its divine splendor. A miracle. This is a divine miracle. Praise our Lord God, some human subjects shouted fervently. Meanwhile, the Yellow Springs tempering pool materialized beside the elemental divine tree. Numerous martial artists received divine oracles and flocked to soak within its waters. Mortals advanced to Tier 1. Tier 1 warriors broke through to Tier 2. Tier 2 practitioners rose to Tier 3. And those at the early Tier 3 stage smoothly stepped into the mid-Tier 3 realm. Nearly every warrior bathing in the pool overcame their cultivation bottlenecks effortlessly. The black tortoise crystal vein was placed near the Greystone tribe in the Northern Territories. After generations of reproduction and nourishment from the surging high-quality spiritual energy, many Greystone goblins within the tribe had evolved into Tier 2 beings and mastered sophisticated forging techniques. Forging was an innate instinct for these goblins. They grew restless and irritable if they went a single day without working their forges. When they beheld the massive black tortoise crystal load descending from the heavens, they were overcome with wild, passionate fervor for the precious mineral resource. Praise our Lord God. I shall forge nonstop for an entire month to repay this divine blessing. Black tortoise crystals. These are genuine black tortoise crystals, truly magnificent beyond words. With these materials, my forging craftsmanship will reach unprecedented heights. Back in the mortal world, Lu Sheng's expression shifted abruptly. A flash of insight blossomed in his mind, wrapped in an indescribable profound sensation. He raised his hand instinctively, a wash of emerald light blooming at his fingertips. The potted plant on his windowsill, neglected without water for half a month, sprouted new life once more, its wilted stem gradually straightening upright. Laws. I have managed to touch the law of life. After a brief moment of stunned disbelief, Lu Sheng was overwhelmed with unrestrained elation.